Welcome back, everybody. We got some more spoilers today. We actually have more than we had last time. By the way, we actually do have a tournament as well this Sunday, Science of Alchemy. That's going to be 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, April 10th. There's going to be a link in the description below. I'm joined today by HearSayTTV and HamHawks42. How are you fine gentlemen doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here. Can't wait to go over these cards. I'm super excited about a certain one.
Oh yeah, I'm over the moon too. This is going to be fantastic. I think New Capenna it's shaping up to be a phenomenal format that's really going to shake up a lot of different metas, and I can't wait to really dive into some of these cards and
It's
yeah,
really
unpack
warming
them
my
today.
heart, but it's like, with the tricolor set. So, like our last
Hmm.
tricolor set really shook up the format back in the day. I really think this tricolor set is really going to make some waves.
Oh, absolutely.
And where can we find you guys on the interwebs?
Well, on the interwebs, you can find me Monday to Thursday, Monday, Tuesday at usually in the morning at 10 a.m. Atlantic Eastern. For those fine folks, if you don't know what that is, it's 1 hour ahead of actual Eastern. I don't know why Canada's weird, but it is. And Wednesday, Thursday, you can find me at night at 11 p.m. Atlantic Eastern at HearSayTTV, Twitch.tv.
Awesome. Yeah, and you can find me Monday through Friday, twitch.tv/hamhawks42. And I also have my own YouTube channel, hamhawks42 on YouTube. That name is just the places. You can even Google it. You'll probably find me. I can't imagine anyone else having that name.
We'll
So
definitely
yeah.
have all the links in the description below to all their content. We do appreciate if you do visit them when they're live and just go send them all the positive, cheesy love. Are you ready to talk about some spoilers?
Oh, man, I was
Oh,
born ready.
Oh, I'm so
let's do
ready.
this.
All right, let's dive right into it. So the first card we have here, it's funny. Yeah, we had almost all the charms. This is actually our completed charm cycle now with the quote-unquote Bant, aka Broker charm. Broker's charm, excuse me. So a green, a white, and a blue instant. Choose one. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 until a turn. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Destroy target enchantment or draw two. You choose one of these options. So I think this card is so strong, like very strong. The fact that you hit creatures and planeswalkers, and at worst, this is just an instant speed divination, which I'll tell you what, you know what card is also an at worst divination? Archmage's Charm.
Mm.
Mm.
And that card gets played a lot. Don't get me wrong, this isn't a counter spell, but dealing with like multiple permanent types, I think is huge for this charm. How do you guys feel about
Mm.
this?
I mean, at best, like definitely at its best, it's a draw too. So it's already going to replace itself as a card itself. Destroying a target enchantment. I mean, I think this is their kind of way of trying to dealing with Meat Hook. As for like the quote unquote like Blizzard Brawl, not getting indestructible is huge, but being able to deal with the threat and instant speed is pretty cool. Um, I don't know. I think the only real mode that I really think is relevant for myself is the draw too. I think there's other plenty of removal spells and like just getting rid of threats that's on the board. We have a ton of them, and I think this at three hard different mana costs makes it a little harder. But now we do have the triumphs coming in. I draw two. It's a divination. It's great. It's great. But I think that's where I lie on it.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. And that mode also really stuck out to me as well because it ensures no matter what is happening on the board, this card is never going to be dead. And
Yeah.
that is huge. The floor on this card is pretty high, and that's fantastic. But the upside on this one, I think, that first mode reminded me very much of Blizzard Brawl as well, because it gives that +1/+0, and then you fight a thing. Except in this case, it's not a fight. It's actually a one-sided damage effect. So it doesn't give the indestructible, but you don't care because the other thing isn't hitting you back. So that's nice. But it can also target planeswalkers. I think that's really meaningful because a lot of green-based creature removal spells can't do that. And we're seeing that here. So it can snipe a planeswalker. It can take out an enchantment. I feel like it has a lot of flexibility, and that's exactly what I want in my charms.
Mm.
And it's got
Mm-hmm.
a mode that makes sure it's just never dead. Because just being able to replace it with two other cards, I'm not mad at that. That's never a bad thing to have.
Yeah, I think it's essentially a ram through that buffs the face and can hit planeswalkers, and then you also have like I actually think that all three modes are going to be relevant. I think that the floor, it's crazy that the floor is draw 2 on this. Like because the fact
Right.
that it's you have the option of 2 removal spells, like Kamigawa just had sagas. I think this is going to be huge. I think that this card's going to be a really big hit. I think that the Jund and I can't remember what one of I think maybe
the River's Charm I think is the best charm.
Yeah, I think these are all like 4-ofs, these are all the charms that you would play 4 of. The Riveteers, the Brokers, and I don't know, the Esper one is and I think the Esper one we had decided was more like a 2 of, right?
Yeah,
I think the was it Obscura? I think the
Obscura,
the Obscura one I think is probably like on the lower end of the charms. The Cabaretti charm is all right. It's like it kind of benefits by you going wide, but if you're not going wide, then you're kind of like it's not really great. Then there's what's the other one? There's 5 of them.
The Naya,
the Cabaret is the Naya.
Cabaret, yeah.
Maestro's charm, the Grixis one.
Maestros, yeah, Maestros is pretty good. I think they're all pretty good, honestly.
Maestro, I think a Maestro like flavor wise is pretty good, but I definitely think like it would go like the River's charm and the Broker's charm for sure, top 2. Just having a divination, being able to draw 2 cards and make sure it's not dead is great. The fact of I think the reason why I say the River's charm is that much better is because it's end step. It's essentially draw 3 because there's no you could get a land.
We talked about that. That's why I was so high on it. Like that card is
get a land, play 2 spells. Like
so crazy,
that's pretty insane.
Yeah, we talked about this card in our last spoiler review, so definitely check that out. You'll see it on screen right now. This Riveter's Charm, but definitely check out that video. We went over that card, and yeah, I had the same sentiments as Hearsay here, where that card was just like. Yeah, draw 3 at instant speed with literally like no drawback outside of you have to cast them the next turn. I mean,
yeah, like the next turn, like it's so good.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, we all know at least one of those probably be a land for your land drop. It's like it's the Riveteer's expressive iteration is what we'll call
effectively,
it.
Yeah.
And we all know how good that card
that much
is.
better because you don't have to shuffle a card back. You just get it.
Yeah, you just get all 3. Yeah, why choose when you can have all of them?
Why choose when you have it all?
All right. So our next card here, we have one of the leaders of the factions, FALCO SPARA, PACTWEAVER, colorless, green, white, blue, legendary creature, bird, demon, 3/3, flying, trample. Whenever this card enters a battlefield, it enters with a shield counter on it. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast spells from the top of your library by removing a counter from a creature control, in addition to paying its other costs. How do we feel about this card?
So right away, the shield counter itself. So it's already gonna meld well with Kamigawa being it's already modified. So it's gonna pair well with our last set. Being able to look at the top of your library is huge. I think that's just information of knowing what you're drawing. I think is amazing. You kind of like spells like Behold the Multiverse are just gonna be that much better. Because you already know it's on top. So you can kind of manipulate your way of being always a look on top. Like, no, I want that, don't want that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those are some great points. And I can't tell you how many times I've played Reality Chip with the intention of being to reconfigure it, but in the game I would never have the mana lying around able to do so. However, that additional information of just knowing what I'm about to draw, that changes the way you play in a really big way. And so Falco having that, I mean, it's a 3/3 flying trample body for 4 with a shield counter. So, I mean, you're looking at that ability to kind of future sight yourself is just gravy. I mean, it's already a decent, like it's okay on stats, not amazing, but not bad. And this is also in our Bant colors, the Ascendancy puts counters on stuff. Luminarch Aspirant puts counters on stuff. Yep. I mean, we have a lot of abilities in these colors that are putting counters on our permanents. So I have a feeling we're gonna have no trouble ripping cards off the top of our library with this. And that is incredibly powerful because if you can cast cards off the top of your library, those are cards you don't need to draw.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
and agree,
huge.
and like, and it's a whole new counter that we're getting into the format. The shield counter is new.
Yep.
And it's like, if you don't know what the shield counter is, it says if it would ever take damage this turn, you remove the shield counter.
It's I think it's damage or destroyed, right? So
Yeah,
it gets around it gets around like removal
destroyed.
spells pretty much. Outside
So,
of
like-
-X spells or sacrifice spells, which still essentially can get around that ability.
It's like with the shield counter.
It's totem armor.
It's just it's like it's totem armor. It's
Yep.
the ultimate blocker. It blocks everything super well, and it sticks around. And if you can find a way to putting on another shield counter, you're just laughing.
I just think that this
Absolutely.
card is the ultimate. So we talk about, we're like, oh, +1/+1 counter decks are cool, right? You know, go big, all this stuff. I feel like finally, this is the ultimate +1/+1 counter payoff card, where
Yeah.
now you have these big cards and you're like, oh, I'm not doing you. What if they don't have trample? Well, now you can just keep drawing into what you need, or just go even wider by hitting more cards off the top of your deck. So I just feel like this is exactly what those type of decks want. Just like this card advantage engine that gives the +1/+1 counter deck late game. And on top of that, the fact that it gets to add the third color of blue kind of gives that deck, if that's a deck that's going to exist, kind of gives that deck some more depth, essentially, by like helping you battle the mid-range and control decks. Because this color combination and the Cabaret color combination, those two want you to go wide. They want you to have creatures on the board. So board wipes and, you know, even like pinpoint targeted removal spells, those could essentially end up like hurting you in the long run. So by you accruing this engine, by you getting this engine going, you can kind of like help get through that.
I really
Absolutely.
wish, like, I know that the brokers are all about information and like knowledge known. I really wish, I do love the fact that you can look at the top of your own deck, but how cool would it be if you had a shield counter and you could look at your opponent's top of the deck anytime?
That's
How
what I
cool
thought.
would
I thought
that
that's where
shit
this
be?
was. I thought this is where it was going. I like started to read the card and I was like, oh no. I was like, at the beginning of your upkeep, are we gonna look at both players' decks? I was like, oh, here we go. Like,
Yeah.
Could you
That would
imagine
be
how
so
yeah.
insane if you just always knew what your opponent's gonna draw?
yeah.
That's
top of
just
the opponent-
insane.
Top of the opponent's deck is good, but there is a precedent for being able to look at your opponent's hand as well. Like telepathy,
Yeah, that's true,
Glasses of
actually,
Urza.
yeah.
Those cards exist. Like, how crazy would it be if they brought that back here?
Oh man,
Like-
do you guys remember Zer's Weirding?
Oh my goodness.
Zer's Weirding is one of my favorite enchantments. It's the you play your hand revealed, and if you would draw a card, you reveal it, and then anyone can pay 2 life for you to put it in the graveyard, or like you can just draw it. So it was just, that card is so amazing.
Love it.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to our next card here. So this one is called Disciplined Duelist, also part of the same family here. Green, white, blue for a creature, human, citizen, double strike. A 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, it enters with a shield counter on it, which, like we stated, damage will be dealt, or if it will be destroyed, remove the shield counter from it instead. I actually think this card's really good. I don't know if it's constructed playable. I think it's like really good and limited, but I don't know about like constructed. I think it might have a hard time competing. But I think it's a good card. I think it's close. You think you're good? How do you guys feel about this card? You're a fan of it?
Oh man, I'm a big fan.
You put double strike on a 3-drop. I'm listening.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Fair enough.
It's double strike, and it has the shield counter.
And it has the shield counter. Okay,
Like,
so
this card's gonna see play.
I think the shield counter is going to be a really big deal because there are a lot of Azorius mages out there who are sitting on their Doom Scars going, man, I'm really glad all these cards are going wide, or all these decks are going wide. I'm going to be just fine. But if you have 2 or 3 cards with 2 or 3 creatures with Dooms or with shield counters on them, they just survive. Like the Doom Scar hits and they're just like, okay, my counter's gone. Now what? What else you got? Like they literally can just shrug off a board wipe like that as long as it's a destroy style effect. I mean, Farewell still gets them. Meat Hook still Massacre still gets them.
yeah, those two are still gonna get you.
You know, those just get everything. But you know, I think the shield counter is going to be a big deal.
The biggest thing is that you know, guys, one of our best removal spells is no longer good anymore. Vanishing Verse is
Mhm.
just not great now. Like,
Yeah, it's
what are we
losing
gonna
power.
do?
Yep,
What are we
can't kill
gonna
the
do?
bosses, can't kill some of these multicolored side cards that are just like pretty strong, kind of help that
Yeah.
if you're playing that color combination. I think we could almost see like a 4-color rune deck. Like
Yeah.
you
Could
put like
happen.
2 runes on this, put a couple counters on it from the
Double strike,
welcome
trample,
visitor.
lifelink, haste. Oh, you would. Yeah, you could do haste.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, just splash red. I mean, the rune champion makes everything cost
And
1
the blue one
colorless.
gives
So
flying. Whew.
Yeah,
yeah,
that could be pretty powerful.
haste and
Yeah,
flying out
Voltroning
of
this little
nowhere.
guy is that's a cool idea. I like that.
Double strike, trample, haste, flying, lifelink. I could see it. I could see a game where you're like, yeah, 10-10, I'm about to kill you.
Yeah, I can also see like from Kamigawa too, the Eater of Virtue, like just that.
Ooh.
Say you equip this to the Duelist. Now the Duelist is a 3/3 double strike. If it dies, the sword
Ooh.
gets double strike. Now you can attach the sword to anything. Oh my
Oh,
goodness!
it'll be 4, so it'll be 8,
It'd be a
right?
4/1.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah,
be a
you'd be
4/1.
hitting
Yeah.
for 8.
Wow, that's actually really good.
I like that.
I like
Well,
that.
and
Yeah.
yeah, I can absolutely see,
Ooh.
and of course, I see myself in the receiving end of this. You know, I can totally imagine a state where my opponent on turn 4 or 5 has this thing up to like 6, 7 power.
Yeah,
I'm like,
Ham's
I'm
out there
about to
playing
lose
his,
to I'm about to lose to a 3-color uncommon. Like, is this happening? Like, yes, it's happening.
Yeah,
Right?
Ham's out there brewing his heart away and just be like, "Oh, this is a great build." Oh, wait
Wait,
a
what?
minute, I'm
Oh.
getting smacked around. Okay, I was just talking about this 2 weeks ago. No.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Like, hearsay knew all along.
So good.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
So that card's pretty good. Let's go ahead and move on to our next one here.
I love this next card.
So this one's called Ledger Shredder. So it's a colorless and a blue for a 1/3 flying creature. It's a bird advisor. Whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, this card connives. Connive is draw a card, then discard a card. If you discarded an online card this way, put a counter on this creature. So I actually think this card's really good because not only does it count yourself, it counts your opponent. So you can get value on your turn. You can keep getting value on your opponent's turn. On top of that, it's a 2-drop. I think that this goes. I think it's Rafine, was it? I'm so sorry if I can't remember the name of the card.
Yeah, Rafine.
But
Rafine's
this we talked about potentially there being like a rogue style deck, and I think that this definitely is a card that I could also see in there where all of a sudden you're just conniving and your creatures, your 2-drop 1/3 is now like, I don't know, like 6 powered, like on turn 4, and your opponent's like trying to figure out how to deal with it. But then you could also have like tempo spells, which we might even go over one of those tempo spells later. But yeah, I think that this card definitely has some legs. I don't know.
Yeah, this card is
it's a little underpowered because it doesn't have a comes into play effect. You know how Magic be these days. But
Sure.
how do you both feel about it?
Well, I think the connive ability is the real deal. I think we're going to find out that is a very powerful
I
mechanic.
think Connive is very powerful. I think it's the most powerful ability that they're releasing out of this set.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so in this case, we have that very powerful ability on a 2-drop that is a 1/3 flyer. I think that's actually incredibly important. I can't tell you how many times I played Fae of Wishes just because it was a 4 toughness 2-drop.
Yeah.
You know, like, am I getting other benefit out of it? Sure, in a lot of games, but at the end of the day, I just want a big toughness flyer on the board to slow down aggro players. And this thing has 1 toughness, and the thing is, or 1 power rather, and with the ability to connive, it's going to grow over time. And it's going to give you card selection, and it's going to fill your graveyard, which are
like
all
it could literally
great
grow
things.
the next turn. Like,
right?
you
How
play
crazy
this,
is that?
and then your opponent goes, and you're like, "Oh shit! It's actually this is now a 2/4."
Right.
I think.
Like,
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I'm envisioning this against like mono red. You know, can you
Yeah, I
imagine?
was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
You hit this, and then the opponent goes like rabbit battery. Kamana faces Kakazan, thinking, okay, we can get in for a little bit of damage, and then just like bloop bloop bloop. No,
well, like,
not really.
Imagine this going against mono white.
Oh yeah.
Mono white can't deal with this unless they have the Brutal Cathar or their Skyclave apparition. They're not dealing with this. All the stuff is very little with they have little butts. This being a 1/3, it blocks the Spellbinder. You're gonna play 2 spells. Now it's a 2/4. It's blocking everything.
Yeah, it's pretty much
Yeah.
blocking everything.
It's blocking everything after your second spell. The biggest thing about Connive and why I think Connive is really, really good is that everyone's gonna be like, oh, it's just like just a discard outlet, blah 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 blah. It's like, no, it's way better than that. This is like
it's draw cards. It says draw.
You draw a card first, then you get to discard. A lot of cards that we have right now are discard and then draw.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, I don't want to discard this card. Like maybe I'll draw. Like the fact that it says you get to draw first, then decide what you want to discard is huge.
I told Ham, I'm gonna say it on stream. I said that Rafine could potentially be banned because I was like, I think that card's like crazy because it makes it so that every card that you played before it like kind of explodes on turn 3. And it just felt like a Uro type card where you're drawing extra cards, you're doing extra things, and if you happen to have value from cards going to the graveyard, then it's even like it just gets out of hand so quick. Like it really does kind of just snowball, and before you know it, like the game kind of just ends, you know, like
it's hand shaping, it's being able to look at more cards, and you know, we all know that blue doesn't need more ways to look at cards. So this is just gonna be a bomb. Like, so you see how many cards it sees and Jeskai sees with Iteration and Behold the Multiverse and Memory Deluge. Now you have Connive. You're just like, they're gonna be rambling through so many cards in a turn that they're just gonna find what they need.
Yeah, absolutely. Seriously, like it's just so crazy. It's in like the color combination of just so many good cards overall. You know, this card gets harder to kill in a red deck too, just because it keeps getting counters the more spells they play. It just punishes your opponents for playing cards anytime that you just have a card sitting on the battlefield and you're getting free value for it. I mean, we can all agree that's, you know, a lot of upside.
Two rounds, I guess. 2 rounds on the table, and the Ledger avoids burn down the house.
Good against runes.
Think about that.
That's pretty impressive.
Like it's good against a lot of things. I think that there's a chance that we could see this card. I think that, you know, so far, we haven't even gotten to some other cards yet, but so far, a lot of the families, they all have a chance to be seen, and they have a chance to kind of bring a deck to standard, alchemy, anything like that. And, you know, the limited format as well, there's definitely some cards, a few cards I will touch on for the limited format later.
And like we said before too, like right now, like standards is probably in the best spot it's been in a long time. There's no the best deck. So like having these cards come in, it's gonna allow us to like really like start churning through some decks and see like what is really powerful, what's gonna go with Kamigawa and Zendikar Rising and stuff like that. Like what is gonna be the deck? Like we just don't have that yet. Like Runes was a deck for like what, 2 weeks?
And it got dethroned pretty hard.
Yeah,
and now
it still gets played. Yeah, I mean, we had a video on it.
Still in the mix.
We had a 90% win rate. I still think it's a really good deck on the ladder and for tournaments, but it's not. It doesn't look as unbeatable as it did the first 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So I think every deck has a chance.
We're here, and there's no king of decks. You know that. You know, like the Esper Walker's deck is really, really nice. But like it can still be beat because then you got Abzan out there that just like crushes you with like card advantage and being able to go wide. But then there's Nye out there that just like puts out big, like it just like there's just no like big bad. Like remember let's say like a month ago when it was like, oh, mono white, mono green, and all runs. Like that was it. Like, oh my goodness. But now we're like, you can play anything, and these cards are just gonna bump up that so much more. I'm so excited.
Well, and when it comes to that flexibility, one other point that I want to make on Ledger Shredder specifically is the Connive ability is linked to the Obscura family, the Esper family. That's where we're seeing it the most. Ledger Shredder is mono blue.
Yeah.
So like it has the Obscura watermark on the card. It's very clearly designed to be an Obscura card. But you better believe I'm going to be putting this in some of my Grixis lists because the Connive ability allows me to run, loot and get into my Reanimator shenanigans closer, more into what I want. And Ledger Shredder is the 5 times. Totally. Yeah, there's no reason not to. It fits in. I mean, if you're running blue of any kind, this card might fit just right in. Yeah.
All right. And we're going to go ahead and move on to our next card here. And
basically what we're doing right now. That's what this card is. This is what we're doing right now.
It's a little chat. Just a little conversation. Colorless and a blue here. Instant speed. It has an ability called Casualty. As you cast a spell, you may sacrifice a creature power 1 or greater. when you do copy the spell. So we've seen casualty 1, casualty 2, casualty 3. So it kind of goes up, and then you have to sacrifice a creature with that power for whatever the casualty number is. This card specifically, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, and the other on the bottom of your library. I actually think that sacrifice has been around for a few standards now, and I actually think that a card like this kind of gives that deck some more legs, right? This is kind of like a... It's a very weird, like, Deadly Dispute.
Yeah, well, it allows it to go further, because, you know, a lot of the sacrifice decks are what? Red, black, like Rakdos, like in those kind of colors.
Or white. I think a white-black lately,
but
too.
Now we're getting a little bit of blue in the mix, you know? Like, this is kind of what they needed, just to be able to look at more cards. These Grixis lists and Sultai, Esper, like, they just need to look at more cards. They just never really have that, like an Is It list would. So this is just really good. I think this is really good.
Yeah, no, I'm inclined to agree, and it's entering into a standard where Shambling Ghast and iTwitch are still around, and you know, so being able to sacrifice a Shambling Ghast, get a treasure token, and then you get 2 cards that you get to select out of 4. You know, with some limitations, but at the end of the day, like, that's just good value. That's just a good, and it's at instant speed, which is also huge. Can't specify that enough. So you can choose to block, you know, with the creature and then sacrifice it, and so it's going to die anyway, and then it draws you additional cards. So I think that's absolutely fantastic. I think the casualty mechanic is going to be really cool. I like it a lot. I also really like sacrificing my stuff. So giving me an excuse to do that. Let's go. Yeah, it gives this being on instants and sorceries and some other cards that we're going to be talking about in a little bit. It creates many sacrifice outlets within your deck that your opponent doesn't necessarily see coming. So the opportunity for cool value-based shenanigans is there, and I'm excited to see it. And I think this is a great example of a card that leverages that new mechanic in a very straightforward way to get good value.
Yeah, I actually think this is possibly the best Deadly Dispute they printed yet. Because, so you go from Shambling Ghast, you still get a treasure, so you still get ramp, but you look at your top 4, draw 2, right? Either way. Or you iTwitch, look at your top 4, draw 2 on turn 2. I mean, this is all like insane card selection, and you get to learn. Like, I think that this card, when I first read this card, I was like, wow, this is a player. You're gonna see this card. This is constructed.
Yeah, you're gonna like this. Yeah, this card is nuts. Just having the ability, like we said, like Magic is at the spot now where your cards just need to do multiple things. That's the power level that we're at, and this copying itself by sacrificing like a Shambling Ghast or any of your 1-drops, so you just don't really give a frig about.
Yeah,
this is just like, and like say it copies. You're looking at 4 cards, grab 2 of them, like. Give me a break.
Yeah, card is insane, right? Like essentially it's scry 4, quote unquote, right, or whatever. Yeah. And then pick 2 of those. Like that's pretty. Man, the card selection on this is just nuts. I think this card's definitely gonna get played a lot. Another side note, an additional thing is that the Strixhaven cards go well with this because this card copies.
Yeah.
Very true. Yep. Yeah, like, some Magecraft triggers would.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Stormkelm.
Stormkelm Artist or Professor Onyx. Like, yeah, exactly.
Treasure, and then we make another treasure, and then we make another treasure, and then I'm gonna look at 4 cards, and yeah, let's go.
Oh wow, that gets pretty crazy. It's funny that I think that they definitely wanted this to not be artifacts. They're kind of tired of making the sack of artifact because it's so easy to just have like a treasure, like a blood token laying around.
Like a mobster, right? So like everyone's a casualty. Like, you know, you're gonna have collateral damage, so lives have to be lost.
It's flavorfully, it's so good.
All right, so yeah, great little chat we had about a little chat. All right, so this next card is actually pretty awesome, I think. So it's called ZIATORA, the Incinerator. 3 colorless, a black, a red, and a green for a demon dragon flying 6/6. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, ZIATORA, the Incinerator deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target, and you create 3 treasures. My goodness, this card, if you get it to go off, you are doing a lot of things every turn. Am I right?
Oh my goodness, yes. No, and so it's funny when Xander got spoiled. It was like, so this, people were saying, "Oh, this is going to be the big reanimator target of the set." It's like, it's fine, I guess. And then the moment I saw this, it's like, no, this is what I want. This is the one. Because like I said, I do love sacrificing my stuff, and it's a 6/6 for 6, and the amount of value that you get from sacrificing one thing, and it doesn't matter the size of the creature that you're sacrificing, and it's also a May ability. You don't have to sacrifice a creature to this, which would have been a reasonable downside, I think. But you get to if you want to, and if you do, you get to fling that creature at your opponent's face or one of their creatures, and then you get 3 treasure tokens. 3 of them.
You can cast your charm.
You can cast your charm right away. Exactly. It's incredible to me. So it's like, so you mean to tell me that Corvald is going to be, a quasi Corvald is going to be standard legal that also ramps me as though it eats at sushi every time? It's like, what? And we're dealing incidental damage at the exact same time. This thing is just nothing but pure upside. I can't wait to get my hands on it. And, I talk about loving my reanimator strategies. It only costs 6. I mean, for what you're getting, you don't need to reanimate that. Although if it dies, being able to is nice. But at the end of the day,
I mean,
you can ramp it to 6. That's not hard.
Alchemy and historic reassemble parts or assemble from parts is pretty friggin' good.
You're right.
Just discard this and say, yeah, okay, now it's not a 6/6, but it's a 4/4. But now I'm getting all of this shit for 3 mana.
Oh yeah, no, that is great. Assemble from parts is money. I do love that. But
treasures ramp you. A card we're gonna get to later could ramp you into this card. I think that this card is pretty strong. I could see it as like a 1 or 2 of in like not like a reanimator, kind of just like a grindy mid-range deck where. It didn't even dawn on me that Atsushi and this kind of go hand in hand as well, where you're like sacrifice Atsushi, hit something for 4, make 6 treasures, and then just play something else. I don't know, like that just seems so good
at that point. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the dragon deck looks better too because the dragon deck's gonna get some dragons that kind of help it curve out, or some more powerful cards overall that you feel like are better payoffs than just a Town Razor Tyrant or Emberstern Predator in Alchemy as well. So I think that this card definitely has a lot of potential. What it's doing is really strong. Like, you're getting a removal spell and you're making mana. If there's anything that we learned, like, nowadays, there's always something to do with mana. So you just having those extra 3 treasures means that, yes, you can cast that charm. You can ramp out ZIATORA, kill their card, and then cast a charm at their end step to get 3 fresh cards for you to cast on your following turn and keep the like nonsense going pretty much. Like, this card can definitely set you up for some really big turns overall.
And this is all, of course, assuming that Goldspan Dragon wasn't our 5-drop, because if you can, because that doubles up the treasures. I'm just throwing that out as Magical Christmas in that scenario. Yep. I mean, that's insane to me. So yeah, ZIATORA the Incinerator. I mean, I'm gonna call it the Burninator every time, but I can't get over this card. Trogdor, exactly.
Trogdor.
So no, this is the Burninator as far as I'm concerned. This card is incredible. I can't wait. Also, another point, speaking of dragons, between this and the casualty mechanic, we have a lot of sacrificing of stuff.
Yes.
And it appears that the size of the stuff being sacrificed matters. We just came off of a set where we had a bunch of dragons that all had really cool death triggers, but they all died of Vanishing Verse without getting the death triggers, so nobody plays them. Now we're going to be moving into a meta where Vanishing Verse may become less popular. There are many exile effects still out there, but we now have our own ability to sacrifice these dragons for great value. So, I mean, we're talking about Atsushi as a great 4-drop to combine with ZIATORA, but Junji is in these colors as well, and that can do some great things. So,
fantastic point, Ham, because
yeah,
Vanishing Verse. Hearsay brought that up earlier. Vanishing Verse is probably the best removal spell in the format, just because it's literally just 2 mana, exile anything. Like, exile your wedding announcement, exile your saga. Now, yeah, you can still exile the wedding announcement, but they're also going to follow it up with like a multicolor card, or before that, maybe they played a multicolor card, and that's a card that, like that double strike card that kind of just starts to run away with the game, and before you know it, you're sitting there with 2 or 3 dead cards in your hand that can't kill their creatures, and you just lose the game because of that.
Ham, I need you to do me a favor.
You got it.
I need you to look up Old Gnawbone and what it actually says.
Oh, is it when a
I know
dragon
old that one.
deals
I will pull it
damage?
up.
Is it whenever someone
Oh.
is dealt damage,
It might
creates that
be.
many
The
triggers?
exact wording. I want to make sure I got it right because I do know this one. But yeah, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, create that many treasure tokens.
Ooh.
It's any creature you control dealing damage to a player. Or no, it's combat
So-
damage. It is combat damage.
It is combat damage. Okay.
Okay, it does say combat damage. I was like, does it say combat damage or does
That's
it just
important.
say damage? Because
that
the
word is very
Torah
important.
does the damage.
Yeah,
True.
that'd be pretty insane.
Oh, that'd be so busted.
All
So
right.
Zatora does damage, Old Gnawbone creates treasures, then you create 3 more treasures. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. No, I have a feeling the Jund Dragon's Horde deck is going to be a thing, and I'm looking forward to it very much.
yeah.
As much as my Jund Dragons is near dear to my heart. There's a big bad boy coming.
I understand. Well, let's keep on moving so we can get to it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got some. This next one here is actually an interesting card. It's not anything too crazy. It could end up being crazy, but it's mostly highlighting one of our newest abilities. So we have JAXIS, the Troublemaker, 3 colorless and a red for a 2/3 human warrior. 1 red, tap, discard a card, create a token that's a copy of another target creature control, gains haste. When this creature dies, draw a card. Sacrifice at the beginning next end step. Activate only as a sorcery. And then it has an ability called Blitz, a colorless and a red. It costs for this creature specifically. If you cast a spell for its Blitz cost, it gains haste. And when this creature dies, draw a card. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So essentially this card gives Blitz to one creature that you have in play or it has Blitz. I actually think this card is really good because the token that it makes, you draw a card off of it when it dies. So unlike the saga, the Kiki Jiki Fabled, you actually get some value for the token dying. So if you're already doing a card that when it comes in play it has an effect, you're getting like 3 effects for 1 card. And yeah, I don't know. This card actually seems pretty strong, right? I didn't really think about it as much until I finished reading it here.
The kind of the only thing that I like that really makes me like it irks me is that it gives the Blitz ability, right? So it gives it Blitz, so it gives it haste, but you can't use its ability because it's activated only at sorcery speed. So why you give me Blitz, but then you dethrone me here by giving me sorcery speed actions? This card would be so good if it just didn't. It would be really good if it didn't say sorcery.
Oh, you can't. I don't think you can't Blitz at instant speed though. I think Blitz is still just casting it as a creature, right? Or are you just saying that as a?
But you get haste when it's blitzed. It gains haste.
Yeah, so you can
But you can't activate the ability at instant speed. So like I can't blitz this out, then do the ability. You know what I mean? Like so, say like what was it? We was talking about this earlier today. Being able to like you can blitz it out, but you can't sorcery speed it. So like basically like into combat, whatever. When you blitz it, you go into combat, and then you try to tap it. You can't because it's only at sorcery speed, and when you're in combat, that's not sorcery speed.
Okay, I got you. So you're saying that essentially the sorcery speed is the drawback to this?
Yeah.
Whereas like Kiki, you can activate at instant speed. That's kind of like the difference.
Yeah, exactly. And like but the upside of JAXIS is that it doesn't have the non-legendary clause. Like it can target any creature versus where Kiki can only.
That's actually a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I didn't think about that. You can copy your dragon.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And kind of just do you're at sushi and just start making treasures.
Yeah, and the fun fact is this thing says sacrifice. Usually a lot of effects like this says exile at the next end step. So this is gonna I think this card, it being at 4 mana is definitely gonna restrict it a lot. But I can see it being somewhere. There's someone's gonna break this card. Someone somewhere. The hive mind has a way of breaking cards in less than a week.
Absolutely. Well, and I love the idea that the blitz cost is only 2. So between the blitz cost and the activation only being 1, if you want to use the ability once to create 1 copy of a thing and draw a couple cards in the process, you can do that for 3. Yeah. I think that's cool. And you have to discard a card, but you're kind of putting a card on layaway. You know, you have to discard that card, but when the token dies, you draw a card. So it's your card neutral in the end. But it's great in the late game. If you top deck a land that you don't care about, you can just dump it, create a token copy of something, do whatever you need to do with that, and then you just draw a fresh card. So that's great. I love it. I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind, of course, is a lot of the ways that we're abusing Fabled the Mirror Breaker right now with, like, in Alchemy, things like City Stalker Connoisseur, you know, those ETB triggers. I mean, JAXIS is just another way to do that. You know, I think we're absolutely going to find that. I do like the idea about going after legendaries. That's really cool, especially if you have a mirror box online. That could get weird fast, and I'm on board for that. Yeah, I think this card is great. Also, it's notably a warrior, which is a creature type that's getting some support these days. So that might be relevant. Never know. And also, I'm just going to throw this out there. Looking at the artwork, is anyone else getting vibe from League of Legends vibes, or is that just me?
So I don't play a lot of LoL, so I don't.
Yeah, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
That was going to be for the
Have you seen
viewers
the
to
TV show
decide.
Arcane?
I have
Anyway,
not seen
yeah.
TV show Arcane, but
Oh,
like,
anyway, I would highly
I've seen
recommend it.
JAXIS
It's very
when I was
similar.
playing Mortal Kombat, like
Oh, very nice.
I can see that.
Anyway, just throw that out there. So if anybody watching this video, if you know, you know. Anyway, I was just throwing that out there. Good show though, Arcane. Highly
If
recommend.
you know, hit that like button.
Yes,
If you
hit
know
the like
what-
button.
That's
If you know what
Hit
I'm
that
talking
like button.
yes. Here's the professional over here. I love it. All right.
All right.
Yeah. So I
let's-
mean, JAXIS, I think it's cool. It's cool. Like,
yeah, it's a good card. I think it has a chance to get played.
Yeah.
So our next card here, we have a card called Devilish Valet, 2 colorless and a red, 1/3. Also a warrior, a devil in fact. Trample haste. Whenever another creature enters a battlefield under your control, you double this creature's power until the end of turn. I actually think it's decent. It's kind of like a pummeler. If anybody remembers, like electrostatic pummeler type card where you can kind of start to go off. Yeah, there you go. You can kind of start to go off pretty quickly where even some runes and equipment. I think it was the Soul Eater, right, is what it's called, Hearsay. You get that on this card and then play like a couple tokens, and before you know it, this card's coming in for 9 and trample. And it has haste, so it has a chance where, yeah, you really could cast this and then play a couple cards, and before you know it, you're taking like 4 or 5 damage off just the haste alone.
All right, hear me out. Hear me out. Okay. I don't think we'll see this in Alchemy. I don't think we'll see this in Standard. Do you want to know where I do see this? In Historic. And I see it in a Naya deck. The Naya deck, you already know that we're dealing with Heliod and Scurry Oak, right? But Scurry Oak combo can't kill you in a turn. They have to wait a turn, and they lose to the board wipes. What if Scurry Oak is going off? 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, with all these Scurry Oak, the squirrels coming in, and I just kill you.
Coco, you can hit it off Coco.
You can hit it off Coco.
Ooh.
So you can Coco, Scurry Oak. Say you already have Heliod out, or you only need one of the piece already on the field, and then you Coco and you get this and your other piece, and you just start going off.
Yeah, that gets ridiculous fast.
That's actually a good point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I think that's a great home for it. Like 100%. I think that fits beautifully. Other crazy ways that you can produce a lot of bodies on the board at any given time, though. I mean, we do have Scoot Swarm in Standard, so that combined with a couple of landfall triggers or things like Druid Class or Zeus's Many Journeys that allow you to hit multiple land drops at turn, that could get pretty stupid pretty fast, I think.
Yeah, Scoot Swarm in this just breaks the computer.
Oh, the
right?
client. The arena client's going to crack in half.
You crash before you make that many tokens.
Yeah,
because then Devilish Valet would be getting that many doubling power.
Wow, I can actually see that being a deck. I didn't even think about that. Wow. Yeah, this card is kind of just like a one hit kill. Or you just fling it at them, sacrifice it, and then they take the damage. Like this card. Man, this card has combo all over it, huh?
Yeah, this card's all combo.
Yeah. Combo Valet.
Yes. Yeah. I think that we're gonna see Devilish Valley in a lot of cool places right now. And I mean, we do have Kazul's Fury, and I mean ZIATORA, the Burninator that we were looking at a second ago, is a fling on a body. Like it's all it's all coming together. Yeah.
All right. So let's go ahead and move on to our next one here. I'm not sure where this card fits, but it's quite interesting. Wiretapping. 4 colorless and a blue for an enchantment, has Hideaway 5. If you all remember this classic ability from the old Whirlwind block.
I love Hideaway. I can't
Hideaway
believe
is
they
so
brought it
good.
back.
When this enchantment enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. exile one face down, then put the rest on the bottom in a random order. So essentially, hideaway, you always look at your top X cards for whatever that hideaway number is. Whenever you draw your first card during each of your draw steps, draw a card. So you draw pretty good. You already draw an additional card. Then, if you have 9 or more cards in your hand, you may play the exile card without paying its mana cost. So essentially, it's 5 mana, your own personal Howling Mine, so you get to draw an extra card every turn. And if you get up to 9 cards in your turn at any point after your draw step, you actually get to play the card that you hid away with this for free. So my only thing about this is that it costs 5 mana, maybe even 1 less mana might have helped it. I'm not sure where this enchantment goes, if this enchantment is going to get played. In all honesty, I think the most exciting thing about this is that we see Hideaway. I could be wrong, but I think Hideaway is the most exciting thing about this card. How do you guys feel about it?
Okay, so here's my question with this card, okay? Because it doesn't specifically say the card you exiled with Hideaway. It doesn't say the card exiled with wiretapping is one you can play off of. So if there's a card in exile, can I play any card in exile?
No, specifically the Hideaway card, because it says play the exiled card, like the exiled card. So it's specifically going to be, it's going to be like Adventure Zone, essentially. This is like the original Adventure Zone.
I was wondering how this works. It's like the wording. I was like, okay.
I also thought when I first read it, I thought it was the card you drew this turn, but it's actually the card that's hid away, which makes a lot more sense. But yeah, I just
you can always cast a spell that's hid away though, right?
No, it's in exile. It goes to exile. That's it. If this card is destroyed, you can't cast that card again.
All right.
Yeah. This smacks to me of Commander. Like that's where I can see this.
Oh, this is 100%. This is 100% a Commander card.
Yeah, because like it reminds me a lot of the other one that comes to my mind is Jacob Hauken from Crimson Vow. It's in that case you actually got a cheap blocker on the board, but it exiled cards, and if it flipped, you'd be able to cast them out for free.
That's actually a good point, yeah.
But it's one of those cards that like nobody plays it, and trust me, I've tried. It feels like it should be really, really powerful. But at the end of the day, it's very similar. Actually, this is gonna be a silly simile, but I'm going for it. It's like a Dragon Ball Z character, and you just spend so much time just standing there screaming and not actually doing anything.
Come back next time.
Yeah, that's just all you're doing with that card. It's like I'm gonna discard. I'm gonna exile this card. Then I'm gonna exile this card. Then I'm gonna exile this card. With wiretapping, you're at least drawing additional cards each turn. Like it's giving you just straight value. But that exiled card is so far away that you can't really count on it. I don't think, unless you have a dedicated draw deck. And the only decks that I've seen where that really fires. There are decks involving things like Wizard Class and Memory Deluge, and like those kind of cards do exist in Standard, but I don't think. I mean, if that strategy was successful, there would be a Meta Triska Decaphile deck right now, and there just isn't. That doesn't exist.
Mordenkainen, put it in your Mordenkainen deck.
Mordenkainen would be a lot more popular.
It makes the dogs bigger. You can even cash your Mordenkainen for free. I agree with you. I just think the only downside to this is that the card costs a little bit too much. At 3 mana, this card would be way too good. Just because drawing an additional card is kind of it would definitely fit into that Esper Planeswalker deck.
This is the kind of card I wish it was at like 1 colorless and 3 blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fine. Yeah, that would very blue card.
That would be fair because then you're like, this is a blue card.
Right.
Versus it being it's almost like it's like damn near almost uncastable when you really think about our standard format right now.
Yeah, it just costs too much mana.
It's a 5-drop that's not going to impact the board and may not have much of an impact for the number of turns to follow. Yeah. It's rough.
Yeah. All right. So that's wiretapping. Hideaway's coming back. I think that's the most exciting thing.
That is cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm hype about it. I'm actually excited about this next card. This next card is, when I first read it, I was like, wow, this card's really good. So we have Halo Fountain, 2 colorless and a white for an artifact. 1 white, tap it, then untap a tapped creature you control. Create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. 2 white, tap, untap 2 creatures you control, draw a card. And then that's 5 white, tap, untap 15 tapped creatures you control. You just win the game. So you have so much Halo that you win the game. I don't really know what to say about that last part of text on that card, but I think that this card is good. I don't know if it's going to see play. Could be too slow. I think that it gives the white deck, the mono white deck, some game. You just play one of it. If you draw it for the rest of the game, you can kind of just draw some extra cards, make some extra creatures, or, I don't know, win the game if they're not playing the board wipe and the game's stalled out. I actually think this card's really good. I feel like I could see it played and constructed. I don't want to be like, oh, this card's the best card, or oh, this card sucks. I think there are certain places where this card could exist, and I myself expect to see it. How do you guys feel about this card? Is it good enough, do you guys think?
I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about bathwater.
Okay, you got to explain that for the for the viewers.
I think the first ability is really good. I think the second ability is really good. The third ability, like, I don't even want to read it. Like, I feel like this is impossible.
Yeah, the third ability doesn't really matter.
Oh,
right?
It's flavor text for sure.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
I feel like if you have 15 creatures on board, you've already won the game. Like, you've already had the victory thing come up on arena. Like, you're getting to the next. Like, the game's over by the time you have 15 creatures. Like, this is crazy.
I think it's like a 1 or 2 of in the aggro decks. You know.
I mean, I feel like if you could, like, if there was a way that you could untap it, like, you know, like, and untap it and like keep going.
Mm-hmm.
But I already like looked around on arena to see if there's any cards that can actually, like, if a creature comes in, untap this, or blah 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 blah, untap this. You know, like, I can't see it. I mean, maybe in historic where there's Paradox Engine, but I don't know.
What do you think, Hammer?
Yeah, I think you're right. Paradox Engine would be a good one to add to the mix here. I think the card is cool. I like the idea, and you better believe I'm gonna find some. It actually kind of reminds me of the World Tree in that, like, it provides enough value on its own, so even if you never kind of ultimate with it, you're gonna be okay. Like, it's still gonna give you some value. But at the same time, you know, jank aficionados out there are gonna try to find some way to make that ultimate work, and I'm gonna try. The first thing that I think of is one of the things the Naya deck really wants to reward you for going wide. Like, we saw that with Jetmir, where if you have like 9 things, they all have Embercleave. It's like, if you have 9 things, you just win, right?
You just
like,
win
how
anyways.
that works.
Like...
Yeah, you're just winning.
Yeah, but the thing that I find really fascinating too about this is they have to be tapped. The creatures you have to have 15 tapped creatures. In most situations, that means you have to have attacked with them. So it's like, how do you not just win already in that situation?
So you can attack with your 15 creatures and then untap them all.
You can crew a vehicle. Right?
True.
You crew
and you can crew in excess. If you have 15 1/1s lying around, you could use all of them to crew 1 Reckoner Bankbuster. You could do that.
Everyone get in the car now.
Everyone get in here.
A clown car of hollow fountain water.
I'm down for this. Yeah,
I think it's okay. I don't think this card is as bad as you guys might think. I'm not looking at the ultimate. I'm more worried about it draws a card and it makes additional creatures when you have mana laying around.
And this has some sneaky value that it also adds in that you can untap creatures at instant speed.
Mm-hmm.
That can be a big deal. So you basically can give almost your entire team vigilance with this. So if you're trying to get good value out of those first 2 abilities, I think the third ability is a distraction.
Creatures is killing me right
I know, you're just really 15. It's like one of those things. It's the same thing as like by invitation only. It's like you may sacrifice 13 permanents. It's like...
Oh man.
Right, or the what is it, there's a giant that can block up to 99 additional creatures. It's like, come on, why did you put that limit on there at all? Like, it's like a 100-handed one, I think.
Like,
from
that's original
just, the
Theros.
rules text is flavor text. Yeah, exactly.
We'll see.
So I think it's fun.
I'm in the middle on it.
But
I'm in the middle. We'll see where it goes.
In older formats, I have seen stuff where people mention Cryptolitherite as a quick way to tap creatures. And it's like, that could be interesting. You could do some cool things with that, especially if you can animate the Hallowed Fountain, so you can or the Halo Fountain rather, so you can untap it with other abilities and be able to do weird shenanigans that way. Like, it's got some combo potential. I think this card's cool.
Yeah, if you give all your creatures haste, you can do it.
I don't think it's worth. I get it because it has the win the game clause on it. I don't think it's worth the mythic tag. I think this is a rare at best.
It would be a good rare. I'd agree with that. Yeah, it's kind of pushing it to be mythic. That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, win the game. I mean, that's probably why they felt like it was mythic. I mean, listen, you know, we're going to have a deck coming out on Saturday. We're going to have the deck that you should be playing this Sunday's event for the Slice of Alchemy. But what I end up playing is Venture. And if you told me that Venture was going to win the Pro Tour, I would have lost all of my money because, you know, you were right. So I'm not going to discount the bar here that they've created with all the Halo, BYOB, you know, like, I don't know. We'll see.
Wizards, when it comes to creating cards, like, they're not dumb. You know what I mean? Like, they might be oblivious, but they're not dumb. So there is a combo here somewheres that we're just not seeing.
It's mythic for a reason.
It's mythic for a reason, and there's 15 tapped creatures on there for a reason. So there has to be something being like, you know, like maybe this goes, okay, so maybe, how about this scenario? Maybe this goes in an Abzan build where there's 10 the Pest, and you have the Demigorgon. You sacrifice the Demigorgon, you get 11 Pests. You're
That's
almost
something.
there. You're almost there.
Starnheim Unleashed.
It's not fucking 15 though.
Starnheim Unleashed, or the Samurai card made you made
Gancho Uprising.
Yeah,
I think a Gancho Uprising
go.
is going to fit in the Naya deck and do a lot of fun things with that.
That'd be great, actually.
That was another one I was thinking of with Devilish Valet, the doubling the every time a creature enters. Like, well, I'm going to just throw 7 creatures on the board, get 7 of these triggers. Have fun with this, homie. Yeah, I think that kind of thing gets fun. Yeah, I think I want to live in a world. I really, so your point with Venture is definitely well taken, because that was one of those mechanics that was like hot garbage when AFR dropped in constructed.
Yeah.
It just was.
Nobody was
like,
expecting
look at the original,
that to be good.
Just look at the original printing of Dungeon Descent. Don't tell me that isn't the worst rare that has been printed in recent memory. That card is awful. Like,
it's
to the point where
really
they stripped
bad.
3 mana off of it, and it comes into play untapped, and now it's okay, I guess. Like, that's
we played in the video. It's good.
Yeah, it fits in the new Alchemy deck. But I want to live in a world, I do, where we're sitting here having the same conversation, or having a conversation in a couple months. We're like, damn it, another fountain deck. Oh, they're just everywhere. I want to live in that world. I don't know if it's gonna happen. I don't think it is.
I swear, if we're in that world, I'm just gonna log out of Arena and not play, because I just don't. If I'm losing because you have 15 untapped creatures, what am I doing for that many turns?
Not playing Meathook Massacre, that's for damn sure.
Not in my world, right?
What kind of Meathook Massacre you're telling me you're gonna have 15 creatures on board?
Yeah,
we're gonna find a way.
We'll see. We'll see what happens with it. All right. So that was just kind of like a fun jank card. This card, I'm not sold on yet. We'll see, because there's another card right now in Standard that's better than this, essentially. But Elspeth, Resplendent. So 3 colorless, 2 white. Legendary Planeswalker Elspeth. So Elspeth's back. Welcome back. 5 loyalty enters.
Back
again. So +1. Choose up to 1 target creature. Put a +1/+1 counter and a counter from among flying, first strike, lifelink, or vigilance on it. Then -3. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a permanent card with mana value 3 or less from among them on the battlefield with a shield counter on it. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. -7. Make 5 3/3 angels with flying. How do we feel about this card?
As much as I love this card, I think it's unplayable.
Yeah. I'm thinking, I mean, Elspeth is looking fabulous. There's no question about it. But the one thing that doesn't look as fabulous about this card is the text box. It's just, it's not quite there. It's close. Yeah. I think it's close to being really strong, but it's just not quite there yet. If this costs 4, or if this...
Make it cost 3.
Make it cost 3. I mean, with it... the other thing is,
honestly, I even think even at 3, I guess okay.
3 starting 3 loyalty.
Yeah, that would be really good.
3 starting 3 loyalty.
I would enjoy that, because basically you'd have to get rid of it. But
yeah, I think if this card was printed 2 years ago, or printed pre Eldraine, I would be like, Yeah, this is a rock solid value Planeswalker. This is pretty good. But in a world with Lolth and Wandering Emperor, like, why would I slot this into my deck? You know?
Yeah, even at like the 5 mana slot, like what are you gonna put in your control decks? Like this isn't going in any control. This like what is the one of in mid range, and even then like
Mhm.
you're just not really you don't really care. Like this is coming out, and then you're not even plus oneing it. You're just -3. Like let me see. Like I just need to see cards, and then just like all right, this card's useless to me.
Right.
We could end up being wrong. It's a planeswalker. Like it's a white card that draws cards. So
Yeah, no, but
and
it
it digs
doesn't
7.
protect
7 is a
itself.
lot. 7 is a
But
lot.
it doesn't protect itself though.
That is true. That is the number one thing about this card, is that it doesn't protect itself. Granted, you could say, hey, if it's 5 mana, you should already have some permanents out here, say. But, you know, realistically speaking, the thing is that's not always how it works. And with Planeswalkers specifically, the two main things about Planeswalkers, if they can protect themselves, and attached to that usually is it makes creatures or it can kill a creature, and this card does neither. So at 5 mana, you're kind of just getting a pretty medium card, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean the ultimate is great. I mean 5 angels is a lot, but
Okay, Ham.
yeah.
In your experience in playing Arena, how many times have you actually ulted a Planeswalker off?
Oof.
Don't worry, I'll
with,
wait.
with or without Vorinclex? That's the question.
Yeah.
If Vorinclex is in play, like twice.
Yeah.
But even then,
like,
it doesn't happen often. Yeah.
these these Planeswalkers that have like the -7, like you know, Lolth is so good.
Oh
You
yeah.
never see ult being Lolth. Or
Nope.
Lolth being Lolth. Lolth being ulted. Soren's ult is a winning Planeswalker. You never see that getting ulted. If there's one thing,
Yeah.
you get a Planeswalker, it's getting attacked. It's getting
totally
attacked.
And actually, I gotta say, Soren's ultimate not getting hit as often is really a shame, because I have had the privilege of having that shot against me, and the animation on Arena is sick.
Oh,
Like they put an
sick
awesome
animation.
animation on a Planeswalker ultimate that nobody ever sees. It's like, what? Nah, come on, man. Because it's
like,
dope. It's great.
The design crew is like, just one time.
Someone
please.
do it, please. We worked really hard on that. Yeah.
All right, so our next card here that we're going to go over, so we have Gala Greeters. So this card is a colorless and a green for an elf druid, 1/1. It has Alliance, so whenever another creature enters a battlefield on your control, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. Put a counter on this card. Create a tapped treasure token or gain 2 life. Specifically, tap treasure tokens so you don't go infinite with something, but
yeah.
How do we feel about this card overall?
I mean, this is the new Prosperous Innkeeper, right? It's just, it does similar effects, but you need to have other creatures on the board. Prosperous Innkeeper, notably, it is a little faster because you get the treasure token and it's not tapped right away. So you can use it the turn it comes into play. But I think being able to create multiple treasure tokens over time with this, and also buffing it up and gaining life in the process, being able to potentially hit all 3 of those in one turn with relative consistency, you know, because green plays out creatures, and it's an elf. Like, did we need this to be an elf for it to just be really
That's
solid?
why the tokens come in tapped.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you ever needed more of a reason for the tokens to come in tapped, what creature type is it going to be? Elf. You're like, all right, tokens come in tapped.
Yeah, elf doesn't need even more mana.
Tap my
Archdruid,
Archdruid, make like 8 mana, play some elves, get some treasures, play some elves, draw some cards, get some like, oh my, this would be
I'm
that
happy
card,
that
right?
It's restricted at 3 because it
Yes.
says that it hasn't been chosen, so you can only get 1.
Oh,
counter.
that's
You
true.
only
You're
get
right.
1
Okay,
treasure, you only
okay.
gain 2 life.
All right, so it's not
this
as
card-
ridiculous.
If this card was like, you know, you just ramble off, like the Alliance was really good, I was like, God damn. But
well, and there are some Alliance cards that have no restriction like that we've seen and we'll see. So yeah, but this is not one of those.
I guess they probably were thinking that. I didn't even really notice that in the text. Yeah, it is only choose one. So yeah, I mean it's still a really powerful card because
Yeah,
either
don't
way
get
it's a
me wrong, it's
Luminarch
still very
Aspirant,
powerful.
a Prosperous Innkeeper, or you know you're gaining life, which Innkeeper can do that too. So yeah, I think this card is definitely constructed playable, right?
I think so. And I think it's like I really want Zorn to be good. And Zorn, because
Yes.
Zorn is the 3-mana red creature. It's a 3/2, I'm pretty sure. That whenever you make a treasure, you actually you double the amount of treasures you make. Or you
Yeah, you make an additional one.
Make an additional one, yeah.
So like that would be really cool with here. So like it makes a treasure, you actually make 2 treasures.
Yeah, you curve out, like you play Gala Greeters into Zorn, make 2 treasures, and then the next turn you can cast a 6-drop. That seems pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
It just seems pretty good.
Yeah, seems pretty good.
Yeah, I think this card is it's just solid value.
Yeah.
Like, does it make sense to be a rare though? Is the other question.
Is
it
that
good?
Yes, because of the Luminarch Aspirant type of feel to it. Like the fact that you're able to put it, like, essentially it's just, every combat put a counter. And then the fact that you're able to even get mana if you cast another creature. So Luminarch Aspirant and Prosperous Innkeeper on one card. I would probably say I think the life gain is the one part where maybe you're questioning it. But at the same time, I feel like if you're playing against an aggressive deck or if you're behind, you can slowly start to get back into the game with that ability. So yeah, that ability is definitely the weakest. The other two I think could give it, that is what gives it that extra combined. Where like in your we played against a Celestia deck in the video, and you storm the festival, and putting a counter and making a treasure. I mean, that still seems pretty decent, right? You get some mana, but like essentially getting 4 effects off of your 1 card seems pretty decent, even if not all those effects are that powerful. It's the fact that they're all combining at once, and that ends up accruing a lot, right? It's like after playing Venture, it's all like all these little things are like so important that it's not, it comes into play. You might need some additional things, but the minute that you're starting to accrue all this minimal value, you're getting so far ahead on your opponent that your opponent just starts to get buried, that they have to start dealing with 2 or 3 things at once. And if you're not playing board wipes, I mean, you kind of can't.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Another cool detail with Gala Greeters, it's not legendary, so if you have multiples out, you can just stack these triggers on top of each other. And if you have blink effects, like in Historic Ephemerate or in standard Planner Incision, which is a card from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty that very few people are playing, myself included, it just doesn't really have a home. But with Gala Greeters, if you were to somehow generate tokens or other creatures that you could get all 3 triggers, then you blink Gala Greeters, you get, if you are able to generate more creatures in one way or another, you'd be able to get additional triggers. I don't know if that's relevant. Maybe that's a win more kind of scenario.
Graduation
but that is
Day,
something...
or whatever it's called from Strixhaven. What's the card called?
Semester's End. Yeah, I love Semester's End.
You exile.
They all come back in at once, and exactly. That would actually be really solid. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, they're just any Yorion deck. I mean, this...
Yeah, pretty much.
It's...
Yeah, Blinky Shenanigans would work very nicely with Gala Greeters. Yeah.
Or even the Kiki-Jiki, you make a creature anyways. This doesn't say non-token creature, so either way, you're still going to get some kind of effect off of it. I think that this card... I found out about this card because you posted about it on Twitter, and the first time I read it, I was like, this card's going to be... This card gets out of control, and you mentioned it. Once you hit 2 of these, watch out, because you're making a lot of mana, and you're buffing a lot of creatures, gaining a lot of life. Like, the game starts to get out of hand. This is like a Prosperous Innkeeper Omnath.
Yeah, this is like definitely the gain life is, I think, is pretty crazy. That's really the craziest part, because we have a very it's a mid-range and a very aggressive format at the moment right now. So finding a way of just gaining that little bit of life can really bring you back into a game.
Throw off the math.
You get 1 life, and then also you have 2 Gala Greeters, and then 1 creature gains you 4 life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a strong card. I definitely expect this card to get played. So for me, definitely a card you probably are going to craft. Now this next card is a card that Hearsay called being in this set. Actually, we have URABRASK, Heretic Praetor, 3 colorless, 2 red for a Phyrexian Praetor, legendary creature. 4/4 haste. So it actually does have ability. When we were talking about this off screen, I was like, oh, it doesn't have any abilities, but it does have haste. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. Additionally, it has at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, the next time they would draw a card this turn, instead, they exile the top card of their library. They may play it this turn. I feel like we're going to see this card. We're definitely going to see this card somewhere in either like multiple decks or like a specific deck.
Yeah, I think this is I really do like this card a lot. I think this is going to be like a 2 of in the sideboard. Like I think this is going to be URABRASK is going to be a controls goddamn nightmare. Because now your exit, say they go to draw, that's the only card they're drawing, and it's a counterspell. Guess what?
What do you do with that?
Yeah, goes
Yeah,
goes
you
exile.
just lost your, you just lost your counterspell. Yeah, I think this card's a menace. I think in historic, it's even greater. Like with card, when you pair it, like say you go Boros and you pair it with Drannith Magistrate, where you can only cast spells from your hand. So now you just lost that card. You drew nothing. You were now dwindling down in hand size.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to see 2 cards.
You mentioned that combo before we started recording too, and like I almost threw up in my mouth a little bit. Like that's so powerful.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, it's just a really strong card.
Yeah. Now the only thing that is that it's at the 5 mana, and we're obviously still in a Goldspan format. So I definitely don't think this is a main deckable card, but I definitely think this is going to be a sideboard card, and it's going to be something that players going to bring in against control specifically.
Main deck eventually. That haste, I think the haste is what drives it home. There's a lot of things that drive it home for me after like reading it and talking about you guys off screen about this card. For me, I think right now it is the Goldspan problem where this card maybe doesn't get played because of that. But I think that at the end of the day, it's gonna see its day in the sun. Specifically, the fact that you get an extra draw every turn.
Yeah.
That's the one thing about this card. This is Outpost Siege, right? If we all remember that from Khan's block. So you get an extra draw every turn. That's already upside. It has haste, so you're gonna get in with it the turn it comes down. And then on your opponent's turn, just like you're stating, if it's a counter spell, if it's like a weird removal spell that they can't play or something, like, and then combine it with the Drannith Magistrates, like this card can get out of hand very quickly. And eventually, in Standard and Alchemy specifically, I think that this is a card that will have some power, will have some throw. Like, I think you're going to see this card. You're going to be upset when you see it on the other side of the battlefield because it's going to already be trying to hit you in the face. And you're also going to be upset because your opponent is kind of just having so many cards every turn, right? Like, oh, they exiled their Wandering Emperor, or oh, they exiled their Kaido, play their Kaido. Oh, the amount of value that this card can create is kind of absurd. Like, it's a hate card and it's a value card at the same time. And on a red creature, that's not really something that you see often. Usually we see these type of effects on like a blue or like a white type of card. But the fact that it's on a red creature is actually interesting. I'm excited to see this, honestly. I'm excited to see where this card goes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And another key detail about the opponent's draw going into exile, because it's not in their hand, they won't be able to discard those cards to effects. So if they're running Cycling or Channel, those aren't going to be available to them at all. So you're just completely cutting that out of the equation whatsoever. If they have other cards that require them to discard cards for triggered abilities, I mean, well, like the Troublemaker that we were looking at earlier, you need cards in your hand to fuel that. It just doesn't work.
Blood tokens
now.
Shuts off your blood tokens
exactly.
pretty much.
Yeah, it's yeah, no, I think you're right. URABRASK it's a hate piece and a value engine all tied up into one. And it is interesting too. It reminds me of, I mean, obviously I can't help but draw a comparison between this and Jin-Gitaxi's Progress Tyrant from Kamigawa, because with Jin-Gitaxis, we had a thing where it was a decent hate piece and value generator. But at the end of the day, it was the same mana cost as Hullbreaker Horror, and the body wasn't as good.
Yeah.
And here we have a situation where URABRASK is the same mana cost as Goldspan Dragon with a comparable body, but it doesn't fly, and it's not ramping you. And so, you have that situation where at the 5-drop slot, which would you rather have? And I think Goldspan Dragon is just more universally useful, whereas URABRASK is, I think it's going
to be a sideboard card until we get that rotation, and then you're just going to see URABRASK be like,
yeah, but yeah, it'll start. It's going to be like a 2-of in the sideboard, and a 2-of in the sideboard. Then once Goldspan rotates, or when you kind of start to see some other things maybe not be as popular, depending on what the meta is, you'll start to see 1 to 2 main deck. Or we could even just see 1, because even with your Goldspan, you ramp into this, or this just, it's card advantage. Just getting that extra card every turn. I mean, this card just, the more that I look at this card, the more that I like it a lot. And
I'm
this
waiting
card
for
definitely
Wizards
feels mythic.
to print a card that deals with exiling. Not like, you know what I mean? Like, you can get your exile cards back, like Squee.
Like a
can
Karn?
cast- Like a Karn, because you can get from exile. Like Squee, because you can cast it from exile. Even there's a blue 4 mana, like 2 and 2 blue, and you can cast that from exile. I'm waiting to see something like that, because there's a lot of exiling effects, and you know Wizards likes to really mess with your soul.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Exile was removed from the game?
I do.
Those were the days, man.
Yeah, those are some
the
good
old
times.
days.
All right, so that card's gonna be great. You're gonna see it. Our next card is actually pretty interesting.
Is it what I'm thinking?
It's the Mysterious Limousine. So we have the Scooby-Dooby-Doo squad here. 3 colorless, 2 white for a 4/4 vehicle. Whenever this card enters the battlefield or attacks, exile up to 1 other target creature until Mysterious Limousine leaves the battlefield. If a creature put into exile this way... Hold on. If a creature is put into exile this way, return each other creature card exiled with this card to the battlefield under its control, crew 2. So 5 mana, 4/4 vehicles. So essentially, this card can only really have one thing exiled at a time, but you can choose to either do it when it comes into play or when it attacks. Gentlemen, I present to you ECD. What was the Elspeths, right? Elspeth Conquers Death, sorry.
Yeah.
This essentially is the new Elspeth Conquers Death without, like, the 2 other abilities. So, I mean, I don't know how powerful just being able to exile a creature is.
Well, it's only a creature. I think this is going to be a limited card, or like I don't see this seeing much play in constructed. I get that it's like it comes in and you get to exile a creature when it comes in, and also when it attacks, but it doesn't have haste, so you're not getting a 2 for 1. It's only hitting a creature. I don't know. I don't, and it's at 5 mana, and you need to have a creature on board for you to crew it. I don't know.
You know, one of the things, so I think of one instance where I do want this, and I want it right away. Because at first I was like, oh, so it's kind of like an Oblivion Ring or a Brutal Cathar, where it's like, that's fine. Except the creature only comes back if a different creature is exiled. If the Mysterious Limousine gets destroyed, or if it's blinked, that thing's gone. It's just whatever that is exiled is just gone forever. If I'm reading it correctly.
No, it says or attacks
It says
exile to 1
leaves the
until it leaves the battlefield. Yeah, so either way they still get
never mind.
Yeah,
I'm
they
out.
still get the card. I think it's good on your own stuff. Like if you attack with this and exile something that you have, you can actually start chaining turns where you're changing what you have under it with something else and then getting the same ETBs over and over again. So maybe there could be a place like how you were talking about in like a blink type of deck, but yeah, I know, guys. It's a stretch. It's definitely.
I think 5 is too much, and the fact that it's I mean, it being a vehicle could be interesting. Like I kind of like the idea, but it's a 4 vehicle for 5. I mean, stat wise, that's horrible.
Yeah, I would have been happy if this card was the white OGT. I would have been happy if this was 3 white.
Yeah. Yes,
if this was
exactly.
3 white, I think it would have been fair. I think this would have been a decent card.
Yeah.
But it being at 5, you need a creature, and it only gets a creature. Yeah, no.
I do like the flavor. I love the flavor of just like the limousine pulling up to an unsuspecting person, the door opening, and somebody with a gun just like, get in the car. Like, okay, I get that. I appreciate that. But yeah, no, I don't.
You better kill me right now. I ain't getting in that car.
I ain't getting in the car.
You better take this Halo right now. If you don't drink this Halo, we're gonna have some serious problems.
Do you guys remember that? Was it the Dave Chappelle skit with him and is it Brady?
Oh, Wayne Brady, yes.
Wayne Brady's like, get in the car. I don't want to get in the car. Get in the car.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, so good.
So anyway, our next one as well is maybe another questionable vehicle, but 3 colorless, 4/3 getaway car. Yeah. We're robbing the bank. So it has haste. Whenever this card attacks or blocks, return up to 1 target creature that crewed it this turn to its owner's hand. Crew 1. Limited. I don't know.
Let me tell you, this is dope. This
is a
good card. This is a good card. And the reason why it's a good card is let me paint a picture for you. You ever see a dog drive a car?
Ooh, the Spirited Companion?
Spirited Companion. You get the dog card when it comes in, it crews this, you bounce the dog, you get in for 4.
Okay. So I mean, I actually see what you're saying. The fact that it's crew 1 and it has haste.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Hammer?
Your turn 1 or turn 2 is going to crew this.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I like it. I think you're exactly right. I mean, ultimately Getaway Car is, I think I think Getaway Car is doing the things that I want Mysterious Limousine to do in recurring my stuff over and over. And I like that it's on attack or block. And I also appreciate that it's return up to 1 target creature that crewed at this turn. So you don't have to, but you can. I like that.
I just came up with the combo. The Disruptor, the 1 blue 1/1. When it comes in, it taps a permanent. So you can always like just crew this, return that, attack, get in. Then next turn you can retap the thing that needs to be tapped, crew this, get in.
Yeah.
Like, you can kind of just like do something like that, or any kind of creature that has like a Flame Tongue Kavoo. I know it's a little bit of an older term for you kids these days, but a card that when it comes in, it kills something, and then you can just keep bouncing it back to your hand and just keep getting more value off of it. I mean, that seems pretty decent, right?
The new, Kamigawa Alchemy set, we got that wannabe Snapcaster Mage.
That's right. Oh, what was his name? Yeah, but I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, it gets back an instant or sorcery from your graveyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it puts in your hand. So like you could do that, crew that, like say that comes down, that's already crewed, you get return a spell, crew it, bounce that to your hand.
Get back your removal spell next turn, kill your thing, crew it, attack, bounce it, get back my removal spell next turn. God, that just sounds so awful. It's like so rogues, you know?
You're just never gonna have a creature on board. I think you're welcome.
Well, and another, so my beef with the Mysterious, again, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep throwing shade at the Mysterious Limousine. My beef with that is the stats were lousy. With Getaway Car, you're getting a 4/3 for 3 that only crews 1. That's solid.
And haste.
And it's got haste, so you can swing with it right away. That's
a colorless card. It goes into a lot of decks.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys sold me on it. I think you guys sold me. I think I'll be the one driving this. Just make sure you put on your masks, and we'll go rob the bank.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Let's get all that Halo.
I want to laugh at this card. I want to take a second. If you could squint a little, do you guys see like Bebop and Rocksteady?
Yes.
Like the turtle, it has like the turtle, like not the turtle, it's a hog. Like it looks like a hog.
The nostrils with like the sunglasses on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yep. Okay, I see it now. Can't unsee that. Yep.
All right. Our next card I actually am kind of intrigued by to see where this card falls into. So Cut of the Prophets, X and black. So 2 black and X. Sorcery, Casualty 3. As you cast a spell, you may sacrifice a creature with power 3 or greater. When you do, you copy the spell, draw X, lose X. So the number one downside of this card is a sorcery, so let's get that out of the way. How do we feel about it otherwise than that?
No way, this card's huge. This card's huge.
It's crazy, right?
I think
crazy
it's good.
card.
I don't know if I love it, but it's good. Yeah, you got to have life to burn because you're gonna take a hit here.
And black deck, they don't care about
the white black decks will probably like this card as like a one of. I think.
Give me the card. It's like it's black. It's card draw. It's a better Sign in Blood. When you really think about it, Sign in Blood is you lose 2 life, draw 2 cards. This and you get to copy it by just sacking a creature, sacking something like a Skyclave Shade. You know, I get to draw 3 or 1. You get to copy it. You don't, and then you pay. But it's card draw. Card draw's great.
When you copy the spell, I believe X is whatever you had previously paid.
Yeah, X is going to be whatever you paid previously.
So if you pay 7 mana for this, where X equals 5, you sacrifice something, you draw 10, you lose 10.
Yeah, you draw 10, lose 10.
That's, I mean, for 7 mana. I mean, you got to have 7 mana and 10 life lying around, but 10 cards is a big deal.
That's a lot of cards.
I think it's good with the Scorpion. The Scorpion that sacrifices and draws because Felsinger gives you that 3 power, because I feel like a lot of the time in the decks, the second downside I think of this, for me at least, is that in the decks you're playing this, a lot of your creatures don't have the 3 power. So I think that could end up being like what the downside of this card is, if outside of the sorcery. So I mean, we'll see. I do see it as like a 1 or 2 of, just because later in the game, I mean, yeah, you do it for like 3 or 4 and you're drawing 8 cards, losing 8. I mean, if you're still at like 18 or 20, you don't really care. Because, you know, a lot of the, like, when I'm playing the Venture deck, another shout out to that video here on Saturday, you're going to see, when you see me playing that, you'll see a lot of games where me and my opponents grinded the game, but we don't have any cards left. So, and we're both at like 20. We grinded the game and we're both at 20. So if you top deck this, I mean, even if you don't have anything to sacrifice, you don't even care. You're like, yeah, tap out, draw 5. Like,
Yeah.
okay, now I pretty much just win the game because I just have so many cards,
I'm
you know?
back in the game. This is going to be good. I think this card's going to be good. I think it's fair that it's a sorcery because that instant would be fucking busted. Oh, sorry. Freaking busted.
Yeah, it would be a pretty crazy card, I think, as an instant.
And I think it being at rare, like, it's really good. Like, I think that's, like, this is probably the most fair card I've ever seen printed.
Yeah, I could definitely say that. All right, so cut of the profits. Our next card here is actually a card that we're all extremely excited about. NIXILIS is back, and NIXILIS is here to kick some ass and hit the ban list. NIXILIS, the adversary, one colorless.
So quick.
One colorless, a black and a red, a legendary planeswalker. NIXILIS in the house. Nick's daddy enters with 3 loyalty. It has a new ability that we talked about earlier on this episode, Casualty X. So the copy isn't legendary and has starting loyalty X. As you cast a spell, you may sacrifice a creature with total power X. When you do, copy this spell. The copy becomes a token. +1. Each opponent loses 2 unless they discard a card. If you control demon or devil, you gain 2 life. -2. Make a 1/1 red devil token with whenever this creature dies. 1 damage to any target. -7. Target player draws 7 and loses 7 life. I feel like this card. This is like a weird Kaido, right?
This card's fucking broken.
It's like a weird Kaido. Yeah, it's pretty broke. It's pretty broke. It seems pretty crazy.
Like, it's 2 guys. Let me just walk you this.
2 3-mana planeswalkers for 1.
Oh my goodness! Like, the card's insane. The one thing that's being missed from the text from the read off is the token is not legendary. It's not legendary. So you can have multiple of these tokens. Let me walk you through a world. Asika's Chariot's still in our format there, guys. What do you think about that one?
I think that's downright stupid. That's insane. Yeah, being able to just... And I feel like the reason that's insane is because of that +1. So each opponent loses 2 life unless they discard a card. So you are draining your opponent of either their hand or their life total every single turn this is on the field. And as early as turn 3, if you're able to take advantage of that casualty, you can do it twice. If you can get the Asika's Chariot moving, all of a sudden you're going to do it 3 times. And then the turn after that, 4 times. And the turn after that, 5 times. I mean, your opponent only has so many resources. I mean, you look at this card's ability to sap your opponent of their cards and their life drain, and their life total. Like, this is kind of what Turgid really wants to be.
I was thinking the same thing when you mentioned all that. Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it, and I think that Bobby here is way better than Lily the Veil could ever be.
Ooh, that's a bold statement.
I'm not
disagreeing. I'm just saying it's a bold statement.
I said it. This card is not.
At least in the standard format, it will be probably.
Even like this card is gonna. I think this card's gonna see modern play. Like, this is going to be, this card's insane.
I think it's a little bit harder just because in modern you don't have things to throw away as often. Each one, like, everything you have is valuable. I think the main thing about this card in standard, Alchemy, historic, MTG Arena specifically is that you already play cards like Shammingast, Eye Twitch. You just play is it the Cauldron? Whatever the Witch Cauldron, I don't know which that one is. It's like 1 black, and when it dies, you get the Conjurer card from the spell book.
The Cursebound Witch.
Yeah, Cursebound Witch. Yeah.
Yep.
You have all those cards. You already play the Brush Stroke.
All those cards you mentioned, the Bobby's only going to come in with 1 counter. Let me give you a card that is in our standard format that's been forgotten about in a long time. Skyclave Shade is a 2-mana 3/1 that you can play from your graveyard as long as you play the land. So turn 2, you play the Skyclave. Turn 3, you're gonna sack it to Bobby.
And they're both gonna come in with 3 loyalty.
They're both coming with three loyalty. One of them you can
protect
get your
the other
devil
one
and protect the other one, and then the other one you're +1. Now you're gaining 2 life. You're doing 2 damage. Or getting rid of a card. Next turn you're getting rid of 2 cards, 2 life. Like, it's just this card is
each
I
Bob
think
protect itself each other
oh
turn,
my
right? Because the
goodness.
one Bob goes to 4, the other one goes down to 1. Then you tick up. Then next turn you tick down the other one to 2. You tick the other one up to you take one down to 2, up to 2, the other one, and then the next turn you can keep it going where you can just keep making.
Yeah, this card.
It just seems kind of nuts.
Problem. Mark my words. I was kind of hasty because I was said that this card's gonna get banned before it even comes out on paper. I think Arena's gonna get a hold of it, and then it just they're like, what's gonna be like? Wait a minute, we fucked up. I'm sorry, we messed up. Yeah, we did it again.
I think it's really good. I think it's like a Kaido type of level where it's just giving you so much card advantage.
Kaido gives you advantage over like being able to filter through, but Kaido's not doing damage to you incidentally. Kaido's not making you discard cards. Kaido's not creating like blockers that can potentially still kill you. Like when's the last time like you had an opponent down at 1 life? And you just need to do that 1 damage, and you're like, yeah, I'm swinging in. You block this creature, you still die.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
I think that the fact that it makes 2 is going to help it. This card is almost like a 5-mana Planeswalker, where it's really slow in a way, but after like 2 turns, you've lost the game because you don't know if you should be discarding. Now you're down to 14 or 12, and they have like 2 devils out. You can't break through. You're taking more damage from the devils. They have removal spells. They play a mute hook, wipe your board. Yeah, I mean, or you make a devil, then you mute hook next turn. You can kill something for 3 toughness because you have that 1 extra damage from the devil. Yeah, I don't know. This card. Yes,
this card is nuts.
Card is crazy.
Like, we still have other cards that are just like this stupidly bonkers. Like, what's that? What was that? Not last set before. We had those Titans. There's the Demigorgon, not Demigorgon. What is it called?
Demogoth Titan.
Demogoth Titan. There's one that's 11/10 for 4 mana. There's one that's a 7/6, I think.
7/6, I believe, for 4. Yeah.
And that, so like that can come out. Then you sack that. You get an NIXILIS at 7 loyalty. You get one at 3 loyalty, and you draw 2 cards, and you did 2 damage because I'm pretty sure that's what the Demigoth Gorgon does or whatever. It's like when it leaves.
Demigoth Woe Eater was that card. Yeah.
Woe Eater, like it does 2 damage. You gain 2 life. It does. You lose 2 life. You draw.
Yeah. When you sacrifice Demigoth Woe Eater, each opponent discards a card. You draw a card, and you gain 2 life.
Boom. So here you go. You're gonna oh my goodness, I'm so excited about this freaking card. I can't get the words out. But like say you had that Titan, right?
Yep.
Now that sacrifices, you lose a card. Now I get a 7 loyalty Bobby and a 3 loyalty Bobby. I plus both them up. Discard another card. Discard another card. Take 2 damage. Take another 2 damage. Like this, it's gonna be insane. Like Jund, oh my goodness, I can't wait for the end of the month. Jund's gonna be so good.
Yeah, you can definitely slip this in there, like just like you said, with the Seeker's Chariot, like this into Chariot. You're like you start like Eye Twitch, or like Eye Twitch, then like random 2-drop, or you can start off with what's the Blood Tide Harvester into this, and it already comes in with 3 loyalty, and then you can Chariot, and then start copying the Planeswalker itself, and then before you know it, you got like 3 or 4 NIXILIS out, and then you plus them all, and they choose whether to take 10 and discard their hand. Like it can get out of hand pretty quickly. I think this card can. I'm really surprised they did this. I'm not gonna lie. Like when I first read the card, I was like, wow, they let you get like 2 Planeswalkers in a color combination that literally has other creatures that get value off of you doing the thing this wants to do. So this card literally has like no downside. The only downside is your creature has to be big enough for it to come into with enough loyalty for you to feel like it's protected enough, or like, both will protect each other.
This could be slotted into the Rakdos Smelter list, right?
Totally.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Smelter sacrifices an artifact. You get a 3/1 with haste. Get in for 3. Cast all with NIXILIS. Get 2 Planeswalkers that are going to give you 3 loyalty.
Esper Planeswalkers, more like Grixis Planeswalkers. We got Kaido and NIXILIS.
It's happening.
Just so much going on.
Yeah,
like,
that's gonna happen.
The Kiki Jiki. Yeah, like it gets.
Get out of here. This is gonna be. Yeah, and actually,
it's pretty crazy.
Hearsay, you made a point a couple of times about Skyclave Shade, and I think I really want to focus on that for a second because I think you're 100% right. It's 3 power for 2 that can recur itself out of the graveyard, and we have all forgotten about it because in the beatdown plan, it's not quite good enough because it doesn't have evasion. But I think that 3 power with the way the casualty functions is going to be huge.
Yeah,
so
and
I just got to say, I think you're dead. I think you're dead on there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think you're absolutely right. Blood Tithe Harvester is another good one. I think we're going to see both of those appear quite a bit in decks that can support Ob Nixilis. Just because 3 power for 2 is tough to come by. You know that you don't see that very often, and those are 2 really good examples.
The Chariot's coming with 3 loyalty too, by the way. The Chariot copies, for anybody wondering. So if you copy the token, it's going to come in with, I think it's his original starting loyalty, right?
Or yeah, whatever the X was. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, whatever the X was. Yep. So always remember that.
Yeah, so if you found a way to, if you were able, if you were to do some really dumb janky shenanigans and were able to sacrifice like an 8 or a 9 power creature, you could just like ult Ob Nixilis, swing with the Chariot, ult Ob Nixilis again, targeting either yourself or them, depending on...
A Ren token. Let's go. Get your Ren token out. It's like an 11/11.
Yes! 100%.
You play your Ob Nixilis, you get 2 of them. One comes, yeah, you minus, draw, and then...
Goodness. I said this card it's so busted.
Yeah. The other one that I want to do is just for the memes. It's not even good, but I want to do the Invoke Calamity body of research into this because I want to have a Planeswalker with 40 starting loyalty. Like, let's get stupid.
An unkillable Planeswalker, pretty much.
I'm thinking if we do body of research, then I want Kasmina in the deck too, because then Ob Nixilis is going to have Kasmina's abilities. So that means it's going to come in with 48 counters, and then you can make 48 creature as well.
Ooh, there we go.
I love this. Let's do it. All right,
colors. Let's go.
This is already nice.
Let's go.
Triomes. You can make anything happen now. But in all non-Christmas land,
yeah, no, this
and in all seriousness, I know we've been throwing the ban word around, you know, jokey, but in all seriousness, I think this card's really, really powerful. This is like the card of the set. This and Rafine so far for me are the 2 cards that I'm like, wow, these are some heavy mythics. Like you're gonna expect to see both of these cards in the decks you're playing in the future. These are gonna be the battles. It's gonna be like Ob Nixilis and Esper decks, pretty much. Like Wandering Emperor versus Ob Nixilis. You know, you're gonna see a lot of these strong cards. You know, or you just play Wandering Emperor with your Ob Nixilis.
It's gonna be expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yes, buy Ob Nixilis and paper and craft Ob Nixilis right away so you can get your Mythic Wildcards back in a month. Yeah.
Yeah, this definitely makes the Rakdos Sacrifice deck, like... This is,
all right, so here's
the one thing that broken deck was already missing, guys. We did it.
Here's my question to you guys, okay? So we have Alchemy, and Alchemy is it's a format where they can fix things. How would you fix Ob Nixilis? It's broken. Now fix it.
It comes in with half of what X is, rounded down. Comes in with half of what X is, rounded down.
I think
I would like 4 power.
Yeah,
so lose the I would probably lose the flexibility on the casualty. I would call it like casualty 4, casualty 3.
Make it cost 4 mana. Make it cost 4 mana. At 4 mana, the card is actually really bad at 4 mana. Like I feel like the difference between 3 and 4 is what makes or breaks this card. So I feel like at 4 mana, it's not that bad because your eye twitches and stuff are probably gone. I know we compared it's not coming in with that much, but you know, these are some of the cards you're still going to be sacrificed into it probably early games. So by turn 4, you've already lost some of the fodder that you're going to want for this, or use it for like your deadly disputes. So this card kind of loses some of its luster at that point. I know it's like only 1 mana of a difference, but we know what 1 mana of a difference can even do to like Teferi Time Raveler. So, you know, I think those are the 2 fixes I would make. Is it comes in with half of the loyalty rounded down, or it comes in at 4 mana. And then that's not as good because it's 4 mana is a big difference, right?
Or even like adding instead of having a colorless, would you put it like black, red, or is that still?
I think that helps. Yeah, make it more difficult to cast. I think is really what it comes down to.
Might be too much at black, red. Then it's almost really only specific to the Rakdos deck, so that could be, it could be almost too much of a nerf. just because you're putting it like if you added another color to the card, it would be fine. Like in all honesty, this should have just been the Grixis. I don't know why this isn't the Grixis Planeswalker. You know, that everybody's probably wanted for so long. I mean, I think Bolus is already there, but this would be really cool. I mean, 3-mana Grixis, like it would make it so that if it was Grixis, I would think that this card would be a lot less powerful over the fact that only one deck can play it. It really does that colorless, you know, being able to put it in any deck that plays the black-red combination. I mean, yeah, that, you know, Jund, Grixis, Mardu, all these decks could play it. I think maybe that would nerf it enough that it would make the card fine. Probably.
Let's take to appreciate that. Can we comment on how swanky Bobby looks right now?
That's true.
Look at it, pretty sharp ball right there.
Yeah,
he cleans up nicely. There's no question about it.
He's got his beard all trimmed up, his tail's all smoothed out. He's wearing the suit.
Yeah, I'm
curious how he got that suit on over those wings, but I guess we don't need to think about that too much.
Yeah. Skills.
Exactly, he's just that good. That's how good this card is.
There's just no back. There's no back. He's just all front.
All front, no back. Yeah, this card's awesome. Definitely be on the lookout for this card. Craft it. You're going to see this card in the future in any kind of Rakdos, Sacrifice deck, or just any kind of deck that has black and red in it as well. Now, this next card we're going to talk about is actually a common, but I'm actually a really big fan of this card. So, right now, this is about as close to a Lightning Bolt as we're going to get. So, Strangle, 1 red sorcery.
Lightning Bolt at home.
Lightning Bolt at home. Strangle, 1 red sorcery. This card deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. So, how do you guys feel about this card? Do you guys think it's going to get played or what?
It'll get played.
Yeah, I think it will get played. I think it'll be begrudgingly played quite a bit. Because it is sorcery speed and you can't go face. You know, I mean, obviously those are the 2 downsides. But yeah, no, it'll get played. It's good removal, and for 1 mana, I mean, red wants to be dealing as much damage as humanly possible, so 3 damage for 1 mana. That's just good efficiency. No question.
I should have said exile in it though, because like, you know, like we're in the mobster thing. Like, you know, you kill someone, you get rid of the body. Get rid of the body.
I think the exile would have pushed it a lot more. I think it's already a pretty playable card. The thing is, I don't know how good bolting a creature really is. We're gonna find out. I don't
think this is gonna be a creature thing. I think this is gonna be
a planeswalker thing. Kill the Ob-Nixilis that we just talked about.
Yeah, exactly. Like let's look at Ob-Nixilis trying to kill that. And honestly, like a lot of creatures now are at the 4 toughness range, other than like mono white stuff. Like if you look at a lot of creatures, a lot of like significant creatures that you actually need to kill, they're at 4 toughness.
I mean, you can kill Trespasser. You can kill Storm Seekers. You can still kill some cards with it. Pack Leader. I don't know if these cards are definitely not as popular as they used to be, but I still think that there's room for this card. I think of it more as like a 2 of, where you're happy when you just have your 1-drop removal spell and you get that value out of it. Or you can also sideboard this because unlike what is it, Frostbolt? I'm sorry if I get the name wrong. Frostbite.
Yeah, Frostbite.
Yeah, unlike Frostbite, this is always 3 damage. So you don't just have to put like Snowlands or, oh no, it's just a really bad shock now. I feel like I know for a fact that I'm probably going to see this card.
It's very fair.
Yeah, I think we'll see it.
Being at sorcery is like, yeah, it's fair.
Yeah, we'll see it. It's not going to take over the format like a Lightning Bolt would, but I think that this is one of those commons that I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it in Constructed. All right.
Absolutely.
So next up, we have a really cool card as well. Another Planeswalker. We got Planeswalker City over here. So Vivien on the Hunt. 4 colorless, 2 green. Legendary and Planeswalker Vivien enters with 4 loyalty. +2. You may sacrifice a creature if you do. Search your library for a creature card with mana value equal to 1 plus the sacrificed creature's mana value. Put it onto the battlefield. Then shuffle. +1. Mill 5 cards. So put 5 cards from the top of your library into your graveyard. Then put in a number of creature cards milled this way into your hand. -1. Make a 4/4 green Rhino creature token. Does not have trample or any abilities. How do we feel? Is this card worth 6 mana?
100%. 100%. If it was anything less, I think it'd be pretty broken. It's Birthing Pod.
Yeah, Birthing Pod on a plus ability of a Planeswalker
Yeah, it's Birthing
is
Pod.
incredibly powerful, and as a result, 6 mana makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, is it worth 6 mana versus is it playable? I think are very different questions, because is it worth 6 mana? Absolutely. Am I going to be playing this in standard? Maybe not. Because
I don't know, man.
yeah.
Like I like maybe, because like even its +1 ability, mill 5 cards, and then you put any number of creatures milled this way in your hand.
I do love milling stuff. And
you'll sticky fingers.
What
It's true,
4,
exactly.
5, or 6 drops are you wanting to play with this card? Because realistically, what you're sacrificing on this card are going to be 2, 3, 4 drops, right? And then if you happen to have a 5 drop laying around, to go get your 6 drop. But even then, like the best things that I'm thinking of that we mentioned earlier, the Kamigawa dragons, right? So you sacrifice your Kamigawa dragon, go get like your Vorinclex. In reality, Vorinclex doesn't really do anything. So you kind of have to go get maybe one of the other heavy hitters out of the set, like a Xander. But then Xander, I mean, isn't even in, it's not in the colors that this card is in. So you're kind of limited by this, right?
Yeah, ZIATORA comes out.
ZIATORA the Incinerator. What I want to do is I want to be sacrificing Junji to go grab ZIATORA. That's what I want to be doing.
And then go get another creature from the graveyard that you looted earlier with your blood token.
Yeah.
Exactly. You get me. Yeah,
that's like your
exactly.
Harvester and your Jund Reanimator deck.
Exactly. So that's where I want to say. I see this as like a 1, maybe a 2 of in a Jund Reanimator kind of build.
Yeah.
Because being able to cheat stuff onto the battlefield from the library gets it into the rotation, where then all of a sudden it can be dying, you can be reanimating it with Diagraph Rebirth and things like that.
You don't gotta pay mana. You don't gotta tap it. It's just a possibility.
And it's a +2. So, like, at first you look at it, it's a 6 mana Planeswalker with starting loyalty of 4. That's not really that great, but if you can take advantage of that first ability right out of the way, it's got 6 loyalty.
Yeah, you can get a death trigger or like a comes into play trigger, maybe something that fights.
It has the same flaw, though, that it doesn't protect itself. Any Planeswalker that doesn't have the ability of protecting itself usually tends to be not the greatest or unplayable.
Makes a token.
Now,
I mean, a 4/4 is a body.
That's true.
4/4 is a body. If you ramp into this, I mean, if you don't have any bodies, I make it 4/4, and then you can start sacrificing if you need to go start the chain of getting your 1 drop, getting your 2 drop, getting your 3 drop, kind of just start going off with that first ability. I just 6 mana is a lot. This doesn't destroy a card. That's kind of literally how I feel about this. If we think about the Planeswalkers that have gotten played in the past, what ends up happening is that at 6 mana, you wipe the board. Elspeth Sun Champion, destroy everything that's like 3 or 4 powered or something or more. Ujin, 8 mana, literally win the game, wipe the board.
Pretty much, yeah.
For 6 mana, it is worth it because what it's doing is powerful. I still don't feel like 6 mana is worth the bang for the buck. It just doesn't. It's not a board wipe. It doesn't. I mean, like, if you're sacrificing something big, it's almost like a win more card. I could see this maybe going to go get like a Kratos Hoof or something in Historic, but then you got to go sacrifice like a 7 drop. I'm not sold on seeing this card yet. We could end up being proven wrong where, we look back and we're like, yeah, this was the card that we were all wrong on. And of course it's getting played in this mid-range deck that does these combo-y things. So now that I said it's probably going to happen, but, I
wished it into existence.
Yeah, wished into existence. Right now I would say that it's a really awesome, powerful card, but constructed worthy, probably not.
And the reason that I think you're probably right, even though I want to try to build it, like I'm intrigued by the possibilities. I think you're probably right, because we've had a recent case study in Tavalar's Huntmaster, where people were saying they're reprinting Grave Titan into standard and now it's green.
And it's even better. It kills something when it attacks.
Yeah, that card didn't really see play because it just
6 mana is a lot.
6 mana is a lot I mean, the bottom line.
Doesn't
your
have
6
flash.
drop's got to be huge.
Needs to have flash.
You need to get a lot of value out of that 6 drop. Yeah.
Your Hullbreaker only costs 1 more. It comes in instant speed. You Farewell exiles everything. You'd rather just play that because it wipes the board and keeps you in the game. I love green cards, guys. And I really like this card, but unfortunately, I just don't. Listen, the 5-drop Vivien saw play. I'm sure that card got shat on a lot. When that card was getting played, I got back into Magic, And I read it and I was like, this card sucks. Of course, first matchup, I get immediately destroyed by it because I get destroyed an enchantment. And I'm like crying in the corner. I'm like, oh, that card. Oh, that card. I'm like, that card just ruined, like, that card just made me, I'm going to the police. But, like, Vivien, I could be wrong. We'll see. It to me, it doesn't do enough. Doesn't do enough. Card's good, but it just doesn't do enough. It really just doesn't. I don't know. 6 mana, I need to kill something. Even destroy a creature with flying. I'd be like, wow, this card can destroy some dragons. It kills Goldspan. Like, all right, kills Goldspan. You know, like, I don't know. I'm not sold on it. We'll see. We'll see, everybody. We could be wrong. All right, our next card here is actually an uncommon. We don't have a great picture of it, so I apologize for the quality of the picture here. So it's a white, blue, black, nimble, larcenist, 2/1 flying bird rogue. Oh, every time I hear that creature type. Whenever this card enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals their hand. You choose an artifact, instant, or sorcerer card from it. Exile that card. I think this card is gas. Yeah. This card is great, right? It's Sin Collector with upside. Take your chariot, please. See ya.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking about the value. Yeah, you can hit a lot of great things from your opponent's hand, and even if they don't have them, you get perfect intel on what your opponent's running in that moment, or what that hand is. And we were talking about how valuable that was earlier.
Yep.
So that it's fitting, and it's in those Esper colors where that's valuable stuff. Yeah, I think this is really, it's a 2/1 flyer for 3 in 3 separate colors. I mean, the stats aren't great, and the casting cost is pretty restrictive, but that ETB is worth it.
This is essentially the Bant. Sorry, what's the broker? We saw the broker with double strike. This is essentially the Obscura's version of that, where you have that, the 3 color uncommon.
Hand intel. I think this card's great. The only thing I really wish it said enchantment, because it does not hit Meat Hook, which it should, but it doesn't.
Good point. Yeah, that'd be nice if it could hit it, because at least it could still get that other board wipe.
Yeah, but the good thing though is that it exiles. I think it's one of the good things about this card, is that it's not just. I find like a lot of cards, like when you're just like discarding, it's like, okay, cool, whatever. I'll get it back later, or it's not really.
I can just cast my Deluge. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Well, this is like saying, no, it's exiled. It's gone.
Nice flashback. See you later.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
You're running Lear? Fun.
Main deck card or a sideboard card, you're going to see this card in Constructed. This is another card where it's just doing a lot of, you blink it, you sack it, you've already gotten some value out of it, right? It comes into playability, it has evasion, it has flying, goes in your control deck, goes in your mid-range deck. Card's solid. Going to be kind of a nightmare to play against with all these discard effects, especially in Alchemy. But yeah, this card's great.
I mean, John's coming for you. John's coming.
All right. So our next cards we're going to go over is actually a cycle. I actually believe this is great for limited. I don't think that we're going to see these in Constructed. You could see it as like a 1-of or something. It doesn't gain life. But the first one is called Botanical Plaza. Comes into play tapped. You can add a green or a white. And then green, white, 2 colorless. Sacrifice it to draw a card. Probably one of the best. Comes into play tap lands for limited in general. I think this card just
the whole dual lands, like they're not dual lands, but they tap for either color. I think the whole cycle is going to be good. I think these will be. I do see these as like a 2-of into Constructed, because it's draw card.
Yeah, like a 1 or a 2-of. Yeah, there's no downside to really playing it, right? It's just another card that. Later in the game, hey, there's value to this card. I get to draw a card. I spend all my treasure mana that I have into it and draw into a card we actually need. And my opponent's sitting there trying to hope the top deck's something good. Just, even just having one of these is probably fine, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in limited, it's a goddamn house.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, in limited, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some real brick packs where you're picking these, like, pick 1, pick 2, because, like...
The multicolor theme, right? You're making a great point about that, Ham.
Man is huge. Yep, and so, huge. If I don't open NIXILIS or Rafine in my opening pack, I might take a Botanical Plaza or Racer's Ring, just because, like, it's good fixing. It's really good fixing.
What if you're a Riveteer and you need that mana, right? You want to make sure that you have it, right? You want to make sure you cast that Duelist on time, so that way
Yeah.
you're coming in with that double strike the next turn. Like that's actually just like a great point that gets overlooked a lot of time in limited is your mana. You got to make sure you can cast your spells.
It's huge.
You know, you got to
Yeah,
cast your spells here.
And we've seen a lot of spells that are tough to cast. And so I think, yeah, in this format especially, these are going to be even more valuable.
For sure. All right, so those cards are cool. You're definitely going to see them in limited, possibly bleed a little bit into constructed. Our next card here that we have is an awesome card called Rumor Gatherer. 1 colorless, 2 white for a 2/1. It's an elf wizard. It has Alliance. So Alliance is whenever another creature comes in. So whenever another creature enters the battlefield under control, you scry 1. If this has happened a second time, you draw a card instead. How do we feel about this card?
I think this card's nuts. Okay, so the reason why I think this card's nuts is like, yes, the second time you draw a card. If I'm reading this right, you just get to scry every time a creature comes in. That itself is valuable. It's like every time a creature comes in, you get to scry, but the second creature you get to draw, but the third creature you get to scry.
You scry again.
Yep.
Right. So I think that's pretty huge. Like, say you're in a tokens deck, and you just start hitting tokens. The second token, you're drawing a card. After that, you're just scrying. You're just scry.
Yeah, in a deck with I mean, if you're in a situation where the Halo Fountain is in play, where you're creating, one of the things I want to do is with Phylath tokens or Biscuit Swarms, or if you're creating an obscene number of creatures, this is a Vampiric Tutor.
Yeah.
I mean, like because you get to cycle through your entire deck and just pick whatever card you want to draw next. Like I mean, obviously that's Magical Christmas Land, but hey, I love Magical Christmas Land. Yeah, I have a beach house in Magical Christmas Land. I'm a big fan.
Well, how come I don't get the invite?
You know, it's because it's a timeshare. I actually don't get to.
You're on the naughty list. Here, say you got to get on the good list.
Oh man,
on the naughty list.
Rumor Gatherers has said I could be there.
It's you know what? But it was just a rumor, I'm afraid. But yeah, so I think this card is cool. It provides really decent value. The only the major downside to it, I would say, is that it is a 2/1 for 3.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It dies to everything. So that's a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah, it doesn't really help when you're behind. Kind of is great when you're in the medium. The number one thing I think about Alliance that is the best thing is it says another creature. It doesn't say non-token creature.
Oh, that's huge.
So and once a turn.
Yeah, as I was just gonna say, and it doesn't say once a goddamn turn. That was one thing I hated about Kamigawa, and like the set before was just every card was like, oh man, this card's really great. Once per turn.
Welcoming Vampire.
Fuck yourself.
Yeah, Welcoming Vampire, Morbid Opportunist. Like, these cards are great, but only once. Ah!
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, I think this card's great. I think that it has constructed applications, so we'll go ahead and see if eventually there is a deck for it. This next card, I think, is actually kind of up in the air. An offer you can't refuse. So Godfather style on him here. Straight up word for word. We have 1 blue instant. Counter target non-creature spell. Its controller creates 2 treasure tokens. Is 2 treasure tokens too many? Is it worth countering their Wandering Emperor for 2 treasures?
I mean, if it's
when you put it like that,
if it's saving my gold span, sure is.
Yeah. How do we
if I'm
really
swinging
feel
for
about this,
lethal,
though? Like,
and if I'm swinging
deal?
for lethal and I'm in Historic and they cast Settle the Wreckage, and I could just say no, for 1 mana, or a Wandering Emperor for 1 mana, that's amazing.
Is a pivot point. Yes, the opponent's gonna get 2 treasures, but like let's look at a format like Alchemy or Historic, where blue-white control has Divine Purge. All right. End of your turn, or you go to cast a spell, I counter it. Next thing I see, you got a bunch of wipe those creatures out and the treasures that I just gave you. So now it's a 1 mana counter spell for no bad side.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty fantastic.
I think we could see it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about it, I mean, 1 mana hard counters don't happen very often. And so I think that is a big deal. Those 2 treasures mean that you need to play around that in a big way. This isn't something that you rip on turn 2 to stop their value play. This is something that you pick you got to pick your moments. It kind of reminds me of Swan Song as another just great 1 mana counter spell where you do give your opponents a benefit that you need to kind of dance with. I think this one's is not quite as good as Swan Song. I think what you're giving your opponent in the 2 treasures is much bigger than the token. But at the end of the day, it's a 1 mana hard counter. It's a 1 mana negate.
Yeah.
Yeah, after turn 3 or 4, this card only gets better, right? Like after turn 3 or 4, you don't really care too much about the treasures you're giving them. You know, both players are top decking. You know, you don't really care about the treasures.
That late game where, you know, each of you guys only have, you know, say 2, 3, maybe even 4 cards in hand. You cast a card, now you have 3 cards in hand. I counter that spell. You know, I think it's a huge pivot point, I think.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to really see where it falls. It's obvious that, like, it's powerful because it's 1 mana. 1 mana spells that do things, right? I mean, you know, 1 mana counter spell, that's kind of insane. It's got the Mystical Dispute type vibes, at least in that regard. We'll see if the 2 treasures... We'll see how... This card comes down to how smartly people play it.
Yeah, 100%.
That's where this card is. It's obviously not a 4 of. It's more in the range, just like Ham talked about Swan Song, like a 2 of. Max, probably. I don't really see it being more than that, but it's still a powerful card for the mana cost, essentially. Just getting to stop their best card, you know, or Planeswalker is just definitely where you want to be with that card.
Planeswalkers, board wipes, anything where your opponent goes, oh sweet, I get to come back into the game with this. Like you can just say, hey, no, you can't.
Yeah, like you know, like say like, you know, you have a good board and they come in with a Meat Hook Massacre. You're like, yeah, counter that.
Yep.
Yeah. Boom. Yeah, that's gonna win you the game in a lot of situations. So, or in that situation, yeah.
So we only have 1 card left. Courier's Briefcase. Colorless and a green. Whenever it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. Sacrifice this card at 1 mana of any color. Wooburg, sacrifice it, draw 3. How do we feel about it?
Backwards Innkeeper.
Kinda, yeah. Well, I love that it's a treasure. I love that it's a colorful treasure, and you get the 1/1 citizen. So it's a 1/1 for 2, which is a big fat whatever, but it does ramp you, you know, for your next turns, which I think it's solid. I mean, that Wooburg, I like that.
Right? It costs 1 mana.
Yeah, essentially it ends up costing 1 mana and it ramps you into your turn 4. I don't think that that's enough.
Yeah,
because it really is like a really bad Prosperous Innkeeper. You're not getting the life gain out of it, and you had to get rid of it. I mean, yeah, you already got the token, so it's not as bad, but I think that last line of text is pretty like you don't care about it unless you're playing like World Tree. That's really about as far as it comes.
I've got as a result, I have a couple of decks that I really want this card in there because I do play
bridge
World
decks. Tree. You know, just draw some cards.
I have a couple of 5-color like Kami War decks. I want your Briefcase in those because that's fantastic.
Oh, this card actually ramps you into the bridge or the Kami's War because it adds that any color. So, I mean, just like any treasure would. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, we'll see. It's a 2 mana ramp cards. 2 mana ramp cards, they get played. So, you know, the best thing about this is you get your ramp and you get to have the creature stick around to block. I mean,
with Goldspan, would it still would it sack for 2?
Yes, it does. It's a treasure.
It does have the treasure type.
Yeah, it's a treasure. Yep. So your treasures, sacrifice them. They add 2. So, I mean, that's a good point, right? Like, it's a weird card because we see it's one of these Magic cards where we see a lot of different versions of it. Here's this take on it. You know, it's a 5-color take on it. Essentially is like the highest payoff of it. It's just, you know, I don't really see this card being constructed like that heavily constructed playable. I see it more as being like a really decent limited card that you don't mind picking up every once in a while because it makes, you know, board presence and it can help fix your colors. And if you happen to have all 5 colors and whoop-de-doo, you draw 3 cards and you get ahead on your opponent. But I don't really see this card getting played over even the Gala. I'm so sorry, I don't remember the name of it, but the Gala
card.
Raiders. Yeah. Yep.
You know, it's funny. We're comparing Courier's Briefcase to Innkeeper because it does have some similarities with that. But the other one this reminds me of is Path to the World Tree, because that was a 2-mana enchantment,
right? Yeah.
Yep, it was a 2-mana enchantment that ramps you that got you.
You search for a basic land.
You search for a basic and put it in your hand. But then it had a 5-color. I believe it was 5 and 2 generic or something like that, and it activated, and you got to create a bear, draw 2 cards, and deal some
Yeah.
damage. And so this is kind of reminding me of that. It's giving me the same vibe. You know, it's in this case, an artifact for 1 and a green, and it's got this Wooburg activation, which is really where you get your value.
Yeah.
So
Every
I don't
time,
know.
I see like a card have Wooburg in it, I'm sorry, specifically every time I see a monocolored card having Wooburg in it, the first thing that comes to my mind is always like Mean Girls, where it's like, stop trying to make fetch happen. It was like, stop trying to make Wooburg happen. It's not gonna happen.
That was exactly my thought with Coyote when that first came out. And then I actually put it into a couple 5-color decks where I could activate it, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
So
yeah, stop trying to make Wooburg happen. 100%. That's exactly what we got here.
Courier's Briefcase, kind of just like a
Very,
so-so
man,
card.
I get it, but it's not as good as Innkeeper. Like, you're not gaining life, but it's not as good as Innkeeper.
I got something exciting. A new card just dropped.
Oh,
No way.
sweet.
So on the screen, you're not gonna get to see it. So
we have to-
refresh you guys' pages. On the screen, you're not gonna see it in
Ooh,
English.
I see it. Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to translate it for you. So a blue, a black, and a red. So this is the other part of the cycle we talked about. Each one of the families is gonna have their uncommon multicolored creature. So this is the one for what's the Maestros? This is the one for Maestros. So Corpse Examiner. When this card enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard. If you put a card into exile this way, look at the top 3 cards of your library. Then put one of them in your hand and the rest into your graveyard. So, I mean, you get some value out of what is the whenever you draw a discard, what is that one called?
Draw discard is looting.
No, but in this set it has the keyword
Connive?
yes,
Connive.
connive. Yeah, so
Connive.
essentially this helps like get more card selection after you've already connived like a card, like a creature aware or something. You can essentially go exile and then dig even deeper, and you get a 3/3 body for it. I don't think this is constructed playable. Limited, I think this card's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a bomb and limited. You better believe I'm going to be playing this in constructed, because it's whenever it enters the battlefield, you exile 1 target. It has to be a creature card from the graveyard,
Yeah,
which is mildly
specifically.
problematic. But you can do Shambling Ghast on 1, Deadly Dispute on 2, which is the curve we all know.
Yep, then cast this.
Gets this on 3, exile the Shambling Ghast, and then mill some stuff and you grab something into your hand. Magical Christmas Land, you mill Xander and pull a Reanimator spell into your hand.
Yeah, on turn 4 or turn 3, excuse me, because
On
you're
turn
playing
3,
this.
it tees you up for turn 4 or 5. You know,
you
Reanimation.
love Magic Christmas Land, eh?
I do. It's my favorite place to be. Hey,
place.
I love it. I'm telling you, that's where I want to be.
So yeah, Corpse
so-
Examiner.
And Corpse Examiner, and it is a 3/3 for 3. So I mean, on stats, it's not bad, and it gives you additional value. So, like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna try it.
I think it's
I'm gonna play
fine.
around with it.
You can copy it with Kiki too. So
Yeah, you could.
That's actually true. Yeah, you can keep copying it with Kiki and keep drawing some cards. I mean, 3 is sizable of a dig. 3 is sizable of a body. I think that when I see cards like this, I just wish that it just had an ability. If it just had Menace, I'd be like, yeah, okay, it has Menace. I'd be like, okay, so essentially it's 3 mana, 3/3 Menace, draw a card. That's pretty good. But I think because it doesn't have to be evasion. I mean, just give it First Strike or something. I don't know, like Death Touch. I don't know.
I want a new ability from all the abilities we have. I want something new, something fresh.
I think it's still good though. I think the value's there. I definitely believe this card in limited is just strong body, strong ability. When you're doing the connive and putting things into the graveyard, this card definitely fits into that theme of what you're wanting to do and just getting that extra value later in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, and especially in a format or in a deck where you're not taking advantage of your graveyard, being able to use this just to using your graveyard as fuel for a card draw, because the 3/3 for 3 that draws your card, pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And so if the card in your graveyard is irrelevant, that becomes pretty fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so far, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Really appreciate you sitting here listening to us go over almost all the cards that were spoiled. There's some commons that are kind of some more limited stuff that we'll be going over in our overall set review when we get to that eventually, before the set comes out. But I do want to thank you for sticking around. If you enjoyed our content, definitely hit the like button on the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. Hearsay and Hamhocks, where can we find you at?
You can find me on Twitch TV/HearSayTTV, Monday to Thursday. As I said, Monday, Tuesdays in the morning, and Wednesday, Thursdays at night.
Yep, and you can find me at twitch.tv/hamhocks42. And if you want to see me or see people experiment with these cards, I got you. We're going to be trying all kinds of weird janky stuff like as soon as day one, as soon as we get our hands on these. And I'm looking forward to it a lot. So yeah, come on out and say hi. Would appreciate it.
Definitely. Thanks again, guys, for joining me. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. Don't forget, we have a tournament this Sunday, Slice of Alchemy. That one's free to play. This Saturday is going to be a video of me playing the deck that you should be playing this weekend at Mardu Ventures. So definitely stay in tune on Saturday for that. Thanks again. Always great just having everybody here, and just always a good time. So stay cheesy and stay safe. See you next time.